Chapter 473, Calamity at the Changyang clan. Rushing forward, the 5 imperial advisors quickly rushed toward the 2 Heaven Saint Masters. Without hesitation, they charged straight for the other 3 after dealing with the 2. How disgraceful! Who was in charge of scouting for information? How does the Changyang clan have so many experts? The 5 men fighting Chang Wuji had instantly taken note of what happened below. 3 of them broke away from the fight to fly toward the 5 newcomers while the remaining 2 continued to fight Chang Wuji. None of the 5 imperial advisors spoke a word and instead clashed fiercely with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Among the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, their strongest Heaven Saint Master was the red-haired elder who was currently facing off against Xiao Tian while the others faced off against another. The middle-aged man with the king of the Jesson Kingdom handed him over to the other man next to him before saying, "I'll leave the king to you. Look over him while I go lend a hand." The other man took the king and shifted the still unconscious Bai Dao over to his right hand. "Be careful." The first middle-aged man gave a serious nod before taking out his saint weapon to enter the battle. There were a total of 10 Heaven Saint Masters involved in battle now. The battle over the Changyang clan would be a strong one. The red-haired 4th cycle Heaven Saint Master continued to exchange several rounds of attacks with Xiao Tian. When the moment came for Xiao Tian to land a single blow on the man's chest, he spat out some blood and the color in his face drained away. Xiao Tian was a 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master and an imperial advisor for the Qin Huang Kingdom. His battle strength far exceeded any other 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master, and it could even be said to be comparable to a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master. Thus, there was an extremely noticeable difference between the Heaven Saint Master from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and him. Upon seeing Xiao Tian's strength, the red-haired man had an extremely serious look on his face before he spoke. "The Jesson Kingdom can't possibly have an expert like you. You aren't from around this kingdom, so who are you?" Xiao Tian didn't bother to reply and instead brought his saint weapon toward the red-haired elder with a powerful stroke. In a flash, the red-haired man had no other choice but to block the strike with his own weapon. "Come help me." Stuck in such a precarious situation, the red-haired elder no longer cared for his pride and cried out for assistance. Hearing the red-haired man cry out for help, the other 2 men turned pale in the face. Their mouths still dripping with blood, they immediately joined in on the fight so that they could fight 3-on-1 against Xiao Tian. These 2 men had first been responsible for capturing the princess, but they had been immediately wounded by the appearance of the imperial advisors. After they were injured by the 5, their strengths were at best 70% of their maximum fighting capacity. Even with them uniting with the red-haired man, they were incapable of defeating Xiao Tian. At most, they would only be able to keep up some sort of balance with difficulty. So another 3 Heaven Saint Masters had stopped their attack on Chang Wuji to fight Xiao Tian. His strength wasn't that far away from Xiao Tian's, and after several exchanges, he had already begun to regain the advantage despite being set back earlier, giving the men he was fighting no time to retaliate. There were 10 Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. One of them held both the king and Bai Dao as prisoner while the other 9 were locked in close combat. Among those 9, Xiao Tian was fighting 3, Chang Wuji was now fighting 2, and the both of them were winning. The remaining 4 were now locked in close combat with the remaining 4 imperial advisors. Qing Xiaofan, Dongyi Junbai, Chao Kachin, and Tian Luo were 3rd and 4th cycle Heaven Saint Masters. Their strength could compare to Heaven Saint Masters a cycle ahead of them, and combined with their dominating battle strength, they were fully capable of completely suppressing the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom men. Those of the same level of strength would find it a very challenging task to defeat one another in a one-on-one battle. However, the Qin Huang Kingdom was known as one of the 8 great powers, a title that was second only to the 3 great empires on the Tianyuan continent. To become an imperial advisor, the best of the best had to be chosen. With 15 Heaven Saint Masters doing battle, the fight was a sight to behold. Each exchange and each collision created a tremendous blast with sounds that could be heard from far away. The entire Lore City by this point had ceased its actions, so every person could stare in the direction of the Changyang clan in confusion. Even the mercenaries who were eating in a nearby restaurant ran out into the streets or toward the upper levels of the restaurant in order to survey the scene or to discuss with one another. What happened? Why is there such a tremendous sound now? The sounds are coming from the Changyang clan. Is there something happening over at their manor? The sounds created from the Heaven Saint Master's battle were tremendous to the point where the entire Lore City could hear them. Despite the distance separating the clan and the city, the sounds of battle could be felt by many of the experts. Within the courtyard belonging to a mercenary group, a single robust-looking man quickly walked out from his room as he turned to the sky. What has happened for the world energy to be in such a flux? Could there be several Heaven Saint Masters fighting nearby? Within the courtyards of the other 3 clans in Lore City, several Earth Saint Master experts had already gathered and stared at the sky in astonishment. The energy of the world had been sent in such a heavy turmoil that even an Earth Saint Master could feel the vibrations. The amount of powerful energy felt in the world was enough to cause any one of them to jump in fright. The fallout that came with this current battle was far more destructive than the fallout that would happen when any regular Heaven Saint Master fought with each other. The flux of world energy is coming from the direction of the Changyang clan. Is there a war going on over there? The Changyang clan has the only Heaven Saint Masters in Lore City. What could possibly be happening over there? The men from the 3 clans began to converse with other Earth Saint Masters in an attempt to guess what was happening. Each one of them was extremely curious and immediately set out in a rush toward the Changyang clan. Even the city lord of Lore City was startled. With several Earth Saint Masters, he immediately set out on a magical beast's back toward the Changyang manor. By now, all of the Earth Saint Masters in Lore City had already guessed several Heaven Saint Masters were partaking in some sort of large battle. They had put a pause to whatever they had initially been doing to run toward the source of the sounds. No matter what was happening at the Changyang clan, a battle between Heaven Saint Masters was not something to miss. It was an opportunity for them. There was a chance that one of them would be able to comprehend the mysteries of the world wielded by one of the Heaven Saint Masters and make the breakthrough to become a Heaven Saint Master as well. The entire Changyang manor had been sent into an uproar already. With over 10 Heaven Saint Masters doing battle, everyone there felt as if they were suffering from a large headache. The entire compound had been sent into disorder with the guards and servants scuttling around. Some of the unluckier men had even been struck by the ripples of energy, killing them violently. Within several moments, there was not a single intact room left within the entire compound. Every single building had received damage equivalent to the entire compound collapsing. Even the pavilion where all the manuals were stored had collapsed, and the 10-meter-tall towers had fallen to pieces as well. Several of the servants who were inside the buildings when they collapsed could be heard screaming out in agony. "My lord, please escape right away." Several bodyguards loyal to Changyang Ba could be heard right by his side in an attempt to lead him away from the danger. "Madam, please run away." Several other bodyguards were trying to lead the fear-stricken Ling Long away as well. A single burst of fire shot down from the air and made contact with the buildings. With that spark, the entire compound was lit aflame instantly. "Ahu ahu! Save my Ahu quickly, he's still in his room." Ling Long immediately bawled as she ran over to one of the combusted rooms. "Protect the madam, I'll save the young master." One of the captain guards cried out before plunging into the burning room before Changyang Ba could speak. "Quick, escort the second lady into the cellar." The guards then ushered the startled Yu Fengyan down toward the area with the cellars. At the same time, Bai Yuntian was escorted by her own bodyguards toward the same area. "Fourth lady, it's dangerous outside, please get into the cellar." A guard spoke anxiously, but as he spoke, several rays of sword chi could be seen shooting down from the sky, piercing holes into the ground. Suddenly, the expression on the guard's face froze as blood flowed down his head before he ultimately fell to the ground. Captain, what happened?" The guard escorting Bai Yuntian cried out in anguish before running to where his captain lay on the ground. "There's no time to delay, quickly escort the fourth lady down." The other guards spoke through their agony and used their own bodies to protect Bai Yuntian as they brought into the protected area. At this moment, another torrent of energy continued to wreak havoc from the sky above. The roof to one of the buildings on the side of Bai Yuntian had begun to lift from the ground and into the direction of Bai Yuntian, causing the guards around her to grow startled. Just at that moment, a cyan glow shot into the scene. The white-robed Ming Dong came into view. With a chop of his sword Qi, he split the falling building in two, eliminating the danger. Ming Dong looked to the energy storm above them and turned his head back to look at Bai Yuntian with a solemn look. "I'll lead the way, Dugufeng, Aunt Bai's safety will be up to you. Protect Auntie well. If something happens to her, how would we ever face Jianchen?" Dugufeng stood nearby with a vigilant expression. "I will do my best, but a battle of Heaven Saint Masters is far too much for even us. With all that energy being thrown about, even the two of us will have to be extremely careful. Please make sure to look after me as well." "Understood. Please go with them towards the safe area. You should be able to escape from there." Ming Dong immediately began to spearhead a route while Dugufeng ran to escort and protect Bai Yuntian from any external dangers. Chapter 474. A sorry escape. With Ming Dong and Dugufeng acting as two Earth Saint Master bodyguards, Bai Yuntian's safety was at its highest point. The princess was extremely safe right by her side. At that moment, another large wave of energy shot down from the sky. Soon the entire ground was filled with several holes from explosions that sent large pieces of rubble toward Ming Dong and the others. "Careful!" Ming Dong cried out as he ran to protect Bai Yuntian and the princess. The sword in his hand danced as he moved to bring down the stone in front of him. Dugufeng himself wielded a giant sword that seemed to dance with flames right by his side. Despite their strengths, there were far too many stones for them to fend off. With the waves of explosion that happened every so often, a finger-sized stone finally broke through their defensive net. With a whistling sound, it shot straight for Bai Yuntian before ultimately leaving behind a small cut that allowed blood to show. "Ah!" A pained cry came from behind Bai Yuntian. Turning around, she could see that the princess was clutching her left shoulder where blood was flowing freely, staining her clothes with a red tint. "Yue, are you all right?" Bai Yuntian ignored her own wound and quickly looked back to the pain-stricken Yu. "I'm fine." Yu spoke, but her pained expression was proof enough that she was enduring a large amount of pain. Seeing Bai Yuntian and Yu sustain an injury, Dugufeng and Ming Dong both let show a startled expression. "God damn it!" Ming Dong cursed. "The battle is getting far too rowdy. We can't delay any longer. Hurry into the cellar." Soon after, everyone quickened their pace. The battle in the sky grew more and more intense. While the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom held an advantage with numbers, their strength was beneath the Qinhuang Kingdom's Heaven Saint Master. Thus, the 9 Heaven Saint Masters were completely suppressed by the 6 Heaven Saint Masters to the point where they weren't even able to fight back, forcing them to rely on just their battle skills. All sorts of advanced Earth-tier battle skills continued to be thrown about from each of the 9 Heaven Saint Masters. Whenever they made contact with the individuals from the Changyang clan, they would explode with a terrifyingly huge amount of energy that would distort the space around them. With the intensity of the energy, the space seemed like it would split itself apart. Although there was a very noticeable difference between a Heaven-tier battle skill and an Earth-tier battle skill in terms of power, when a Heaven Saint Master used an Earth-tier battle skill, the power from it should not be underestimated, especially when 9 Heaven Saint Masters used one at the same time. The amount of power that would overlap each other was tantamount to several Heaven-tier battle skills clashing and could shatter the firmaments of the heavens. Ugh! Suddenly, a cry of agony could be heard, piercing cleanly through the exploding sounds of battle. Turning to look, everyone could see the Heaven Saint Master that was fighting Chang Wuji had his right hand chopped off. The arm flopped to the ground while blood sprayed out of the stump like rain. Chang Wuji's eyes had a thirst for blood in them as he stepped forward without letting the man escape him. With a thundering clap of sound, his sword stabbed straight through the man's chest. "Elder Ping Yun!" The other man fighting Chang Wuji cried out in shock. Charging forward, he attempted to stab Chang Wuji through the chest as well. With an ice-cold expression, Chang Wuji pulled his sword out from the man's chest and swung his sword with all his might toward the incoming enemy. By himself, how could a third cycle Heaven Saint Master be a match for Chang Wuji? With a single thrust of his sword, Chang Wuji repelled the man. Chang Wuji's face was especially gloomy and a fury radiated from his eyes. There was no way he didn't know what was happening down below him, but with the two men he was fighting annoying him to death, there had been no way for him to go down to save anyone. Chang Wuji's gaze locked onto the chest of the man he had stabbed. With a single step, he flew toward him, and with his sword hand falling downward, he moved to lop off the man's head. Although using a heaven-tier battle skill would easily kill his opponent, it would also require a large amount of Saint force. Not only that, but the Changyang clan down below would be hit with the fallout. A heaven-tier battle skill would decimate the entire manor. Seeing the sword falling down at a tremendous speed, the man's face fell with shock. First he had lost his right arm, then he had a hole straight through his chest. The two of these wounds had already brought forth a tremendous amount of damage. He wouldn't even have enough energy to defend himself against another strike, so he opted to fall toward the ground. With a sneer, Chang Wuji's sword tip shot forth 10 meters in an instant. Quickly, the sword came down with an executing slash that bisected the man's head, killing his soul. Thus, the very first individual from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was killed by Chang Wuji. Elder Ping Yun. A grief-filled voice called out from the man who had been sent flying back from Chang Wuji's earlier blow. Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Today I will ensure that you pay a heavy price for your actions. Chang Wuji exclaimed as he brought his sword flying toward the other man with a swift motion. After seeing Chang Wuji kill someone, the other 5 Heaven Saint Masters from the Qinhuang Kingdom grew excited. Their movements grew quicker and, in the span of several seconds, the enemy side gained new wounds. Blood spilled from their mouths as their momentum fell like an arrow at the end of its flight. Bang! Suddenly, a splurt of blood could be seen falling through the sky. Xiao Tian's hand had rammed straight into one of the Heaven Saint Masters' head, pulverizing it into a bloody mess. Thus, the second Heaven Saint Master from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had fallen. We can't win, retreat. After having 2 of their own killed, the remaining few members felt as if they were dealt a tremendous blow. One of the members immediately cried out for the others to give up the fight and to escape. If I let you run away, Qing Shaoshan would have no face to return back home. Qing Shaoshan sneered. With the wind element enveloping his body, he quickly streamed for one of the escaping fighters. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom men were dominated completely. Although they were able to hold on to their lives, they wouldn't be able to do so for long. Everyone from their group knew when they were over their heads and no longer had the bravado from earlier. Seeing someone else try to run, the others had been hasty not to fall behind and ran away one by one. After a short battle, 2 of the 9 had fallen and the remaining 7 had been severely injured. On the other side, no one had taken any heavy injuries and still had energy to spare. Unlike them, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's men barely had any energy left to escape. It won't be that easy to get away. All 5 of the Imperial advisors gave chase with Xiao Tian leading the group while Chang Wuji stayed behind to check on the Changyang clan down below. Experts from all over had rushed to this location the moment they heard a battle taking place at the Changyang clan. They began to observe the intense battle from far away with absolute shock. In the golden age of the Jessen Kingdom, they had no more than 10 Heaven Saint Masters. With Chang Wuji now as the 11th, they were at a number that was greater than the amount of Heaven Saint Masters in their golden age. As for the Changyang clan, their entire compound had been laid to waste. Every building had collapsed into rubbish, and the bodies of guards and servants could be seen strewn about. Although the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom men had fled, the battle had not yet stopped. The 5 Imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom continued to surprise everyone by chasing the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom men with no mercy. Qing Shaoshan possessed the wind-attributed Saint force and could use the wind element to increase his speed to become the fastest among the group. In a flash, he was able to catch up to his adversary and began to unleash his full strength. Easily throwing out an advanced Earth-tier battle skill, he chopped off the head of one of the already injured men. The man didn't instantly die from the blow and had hurriedly grabbed at his head before attempting to escape. Killing a Heaven Saint Master would require vanquishing the soul. However, this man who had his head chopped off was weakened. Without any energy to fight, He was ultimately slower than the rest. In an instant, Qin Shaoshan caught him and bisected the head in two. By that point, the other four imperial advisors had already caught up with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and forced them into another fierce battle in the sky once more. Energy began to be thrown about, causing heavy damage to the streets and buildings nearby. Countless passers-by cried out in panic as they tried to escape, while some of the unluckier ones were struck by the waves of energy, killing them in a violent manner. In that one moment of warfare, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom lost another expert by the hands of Xiao Tian. Xiao Tian extinguished the man's soul with a single strike through the eyebrows, allowing his body to fall to the ground and crumple on the streets. The man who was holding both the king and Bai Dao realized that if he didn't take an emergency action here and now, it would be insanely difficult for him to run away. With that in mind, he immediately threw both captives in opposing directions before shouting, "If you wish for the king, then here you have him." The five imperial advisors had stayed within the Changyang clan for many days and thus learned many things from their talks with Changyang Ba. So they knew the identity of these two. One of them was the future father-in-law of their imperial protector, the other was the uncle of their imperial protector. Both of these men were of high importance, and so there had been no hesitation in what to do next. Straight away, two of the five men broke away to rescue the king and Bai Dao. The one who had thrown the two had not yet ran away. Immediately taking out his saint weapon, he quickly used a mighty earth tier battle skill in an attempt to save his comrades. The two Heaven Saint Masters that were not able to run away due to their injuries tried their best to take advantage of the moment where the king and Bai Dao were being rescued. They were able to run away as sorry figures with the assistance of their comrade, forcing the other three to pull back after several moments. The king and Bai Dao were both safely rescued. The two of them were rather weak and had been in a state of unconsciousness. If they were to hit the ground as they were, it would be a stroke of luck if they didn't die. We can't let them run away like this. Luo Tian spoke as he looked at the escaping men, his foot itching to give chase. Stopping Luo Tian, Xiao Tian spoke, "Forget that for now. The Imperial Protector won't let this debt go unpaid so easily. For now, our top priority is to return these people back to the Changyang clan and save the others. Right? Saving them is our top priority. If something were to happen to anyone of importance, then how could we justify ourselves?" Dong Yijunbai agreed. Afterward, the five imperial advisors returned to the Changyang manor, leaving behind the corpses of the two men from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom on the streets. The fight had not lasted long, and the commotion that had struck Lore City had finally abated. From the 10 Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, in the end, only 6 of them had been able to escape. Chapter 475. The Return of a King. There was not an intact building to be seen throughout the entire compound. It was a complete wreck as far as the eyes could see, with every building collapsed. The corpses of multiple servants and guards could be seen strewn across the grounds. The last expression on their faces had been of anguish. The tragic day that was today would be an unforgettable day for the Changyang clan. The energy from the 10 Heaven Saint Masters had killed many lives and caused an immeasurable amount of damage. Many more people had been severely injured and left the Changyang clan in a depressed state. Chang Wuji trod across the broken courtyards with a heavy expression. It was not as heavy as it was during the battle, and he couldn't help but let out a sigh in relief in his heart. Despite the heavy damages the Changyang clan had incurred, the important figures of the clan hadn't been killed. Some had been injured, but nothing major had happened to them. Chang Wuji walked to the center of the compound and looked all around. With one final sigh, his face descended into grief. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom descended next to Chang Wuji. Xiao Tian was the first to speak. "Chang Wuji, how is the clan leader and the 4th lady? Are they injured?" The 5 imperial advisors were most concerned with Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian, since they were the parents of the imperial protector. Chang Wuji shook his head. "I thank the imperial advisors for their concern. They both have some minor injuries, nothing too major." Hearing this, the 5 imperial advisors couldn't help but let out a breath in relief. If one of the two had something happen to them in that short moment, they had no idea how they would be able to face the imperial protector. The secret that the 5 imperial advisors were living within the Changyang clan had been exposed. Everyone that was familiar with what they looked like was extremely astonished the moment they saw the 5 Heaven Saint Masters retreat into the clan compound. Straight away, discussions could be heard among those people. No one could imagine that the Changyang clan would have so many Heaven Saint Master experts hidden within. Such a strength was far too much. Ah, Senior Chang Wuji, how is Yuer? The king coughed out some blood from his internal injuries while struggling to speak. Your Majesty, please be rest assured. The princess has received no major injuries. Chang Wuji replied. That's fine, all is fine then. The heart that had leaped into the king's throat had finally fallen back down. Yuer was his most beloved daughter, and thus he was without a doubt concerned for her safety. Afterward, the representatives of the 3 other clans of Lore City came by personally to express their sympathies to the Changyang clan. They had a look of grief in their faces and concern in their voices, but their eyes remained on the 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom with feelings of confusion and shock. Many of the members from the 3 clans had participated within the battle at the northern stronghold, so they naturally recognized the imperial advisors. Upon seeing all 5 of them gathered within the Changyang clan and when they helped them fend off the attackers, they couldn't help but feel extremely curious on what connection the 2 sides had with each other. However, not a single one of them had dared ask why and could only speculate in secret. None of the 3 clans were in any desire to leave quickly. Instead, they had their men personally help survey the damage to the clan. Despite the entire clan being leveled and destroyed, it did not weaken their reputation or fame. If anything, this had strengthened it. After all, they not only had even more Heaven Saint Masters than before, but they were able to emerge victorious over several experts from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Suddenly, a cyan color burst through the sky, like a lightning bolt, headed toward the Changyang clan. In an instant, the light came to a stop and began to hover over it. Another Heaven Saint Master? How fast this one is! When everyone saw this airborne person, they all let out a startled cry in confusion on whether this was a friend or foe. The 5 imperial advisors and Chang Wuji both revealed stunned looks on their faces. Turning to look up, their eyes held a dangerous gleam. However, when they saw the facial appearance of the man floating above, a joyous look overcame their faces. The 4th master has returned. Honored Imperial Protector. This cyan-colored blur had been Jianchen. After 2 days of constant traveling, he had finally returned to Lore City from the cave of the Saint Ruler. Jianchen floated above Changyang Manor with a sluggish look. His eyes didn't dare believe the reality of what he was seeing. In the several days when he was gone, the entire Changyang clan had undergone a tremendous change. The previously pristine and grand clan compound had disappeared into nothingness. All that remained was a single ruin with thousands of scars and holes as well as bloody bodies strewn about. Is this truly the Changyang clan? What has happened? The light in Jianchen's eyes was quite dull as he muttered to himself in an absent-minded manner. Even the joyous feeling he had felt after receiving the Saint Ruler's skeleton had been completely obliterated. Jianchen's expression grew more and more dangerous as he descended down to the ground near the ruins. Chang Wuji and the 5 imperial advisors quickly rushed over to Jianchen's side, but before they could say anything, Jianchen spoke first. Uncle Chang, what has happened here? How did the Changyang clan be reduced to such a state? Jianchen's voice was filled with concern and his expression with worry. In his recent return, he had no idea just what could possibly happen for the Changyang clan to undergo such a tremendous transformation. Chang Wuji let out a long breath of air. 4th Master, 10 Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had only just came by with Bai Dao and His Majesty in their grasps. They had spoken some claptrap about capturing you, but after a battle between them and us, the Changyang clan was inadvertently damaged by the fallout. Hearing this, a sudden explosion of killing intent burst from Jianchen's body. A fierce glare started to grow brighter and brighter, almost as if he was a bloodthirsty tiger whose stare could cause any person to shiver in fear. The temperature within the immediate area instantly dropped several degrees. Some of the weaker people around them began to feel as if they were submerged within ice-cold water and they began to shiver. Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jianchen spat out one word at a time in his anger as his fist began to crack from being held so tightly. This time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had truly infuriated him. Suddenly, a thought crossed Jianchen's mind. His expression immediately changed as he hurriedly asked, "Uncle Chang, what of my parents? Are they all right?" The leader and the fourth lady are underground with only minor injuries. Chang Wuji spoke. Before he could finish speaking, Jianchen had already disappeared into a blur, headed toward the underground rooms. The underground rooms were about 100 meters deep and were very dim. Despite that, it was very spacious and could fit well over 1,000 people in there with even more rooms to accommodate them all. The very moment Jianchen entered the rooms below, he could see several of the higher-ranking members of the clan and their guards come walking out. "Fourth Master." Some of the guards instantly saluted him when they saw him. "Where is my mother?" Jianchen immediately demanded with a dangerous gleam in his eyes, causing the guard to avoid looking him in the eye. "The fourth lady is in the biggest room." The guard answered quickly. He immediately ran past them and into the biggest room in the underground area. However, it would be more appropriate to call these rooms caves, instead, due to their appearance. After entering the room, Jianchen not only found his parents, but even the oldest aunt Ling Long, second aunt Yu Fengyan and third aunt Bai Yushuang. His third brother Changyang Ku was by his mother's side while several other men covered in blood sat by some of the traumatized women. Right by the entrance, Ming Dong and Dugu Feng stood guard. When their eyes met, they didn't need to speak to convey a conversation. "Mother, are you all right?" Jianchen quickly walked forward with a worried expression. In this moment, Jianchen looked at the wound on his mother's head with an aghast expression. "Mother, you're hurt." "Xianger, your mother is fine. Go look for Yuer, her injuries are even worse than mine." Bai Yuntian didn't care for her own injuries, and instead was extremely concerned for her future daughter-in-law. At this moment, the princess lay on a bed with an extremely pale face that was scrunched up in pain. Arriving by the bedside, Jianchen began to inspect the princess for the extent of her wounds. A solemn expression began to overtake his expression as he made his diagnosis. A stone was lodged in the princess' left shoulder, leaving a finger-sized hole within it. There was also a single wound on the left side of her back from where another stone had struck it. A stone had entered her body and nearly injured her heart. The other inner organs had also been struck, leaving behind a dangerous-looking internal injury. "Xianger, your mother knows you have the ability to heal Yuer. Please save her. She has an extremely dangerous wound." Bai Yuntian whispered to Jianchen in concern, afraid that the princess would die from her wounds. Jianchen nodded. "The battle outside has stopped. Mother, you should go out to check. I'll treat Princess Yu." Bai Yuntian had no objections to that. After a few more words, she left the room, leaving Jianchen behind with the princess. "Brother, we'll head up first." Ming Dong pulled Dugu Feng away from the room. If this was any other time, then Ming Dong would have taken his time to fire question after question to Jianchen. Ming Dong didn't have the heart to, since such an event happened to the Changyang clan. After everyone had left, Jianchen closed the door gingerly behind him and walked back to the bed with a complex expression. With barely a few days of her living in the clan compound, the princess had been heavily injured. This made Jianchen feel extremely apologetic, almost as if he had personally let her down. Despite the wounds on the princess being quite heavy, she was still awake and capable of clear thought. Her limpid eyes had a strange luster to them as she stared nervously at Jianchen. Her pale face had a slightly red hue that revealed her shyness. In her heart, despite the troubling moment, she couldn't help but have a nervous delight from such a situation. Jianchen sat by her bedside and spoke gently. "Princess Yu, it may be a little painful in the next few moments. Please try to endure." Chapter 476, A Day of Healing, N. Yu slowly closed her eyes and gave a light answer in response. However, she couldn't help but feel slightly disappointed and unhappy from the way Jianchen had called out to her. Princess Jelen was a name His Majesty had given her, but her real name was Yu. Back in the flower garden at the Imperial Palace, Yu had stated that Jianchen should call her by her real name. Seeing how Jianchen was still calling her princess, Yu couldn't help but feel that the connection the two had with each other had suddenly grown even further apart. Jianchen was naturally unaware of Yu's thoughts. He focused on the wound on her shoulder for a moment before muttering something and looking elsewhere. The wound had already been treated with gauze and several other medicinal herbs. Jianchen held a pair of scissors in his hand and began to slowly cut away the clothes near Yu's wounds. Following a kacha, the scissors cut a perfect circle in the middle of Yu's luxurious robes. Underneath, Yu's slender white skin could be seen along with the faint pink undergarment she wore. Sensing that Yu's heart had begun to skip a beat, Jianchen opened his mouth to explain. Princess Yu, the stone has already entered your body. In order to advance with your healing, I must remove it first. Yu closed her eyes afterward without another word. However, as she lay on the bed, she felt her body grow stiff with anxiety as a cold sensation began to spread into her left shoulder. This made Yu realize that her entire body could be seen in its entirety by this single man. With such a thought, her face began to blush slightly. Ever since birth, she had never allowed a male to see her body. Grabbing some gauze, Jianchen first cleaned away the leftover blood on Yu's wounds before slowly putting his palm onto the wounds. The very moment Jianchen's palm made contact with Yu's flesh, the princess gave a start due to the instant sensation of pain that she felt upon contact. Jianchen sucked in a deep breath as he began to gently touch the flesh. Unlike his facial expression, his heart was not calm. However, after some time, he managed to school his emotions and stare attentively at Yu's wounds. Princess Yu, I will start to extract the stone, please endure it for now. Yu gave an answer that was no louder than a mosquito's buzzing. Her face was completely red as she refused to look at Jianchen in a manner typical of a shy woman. After Jianchen grew calm, the palm that had been touching Yu's shoulder suddenly began to exude an attractive force that caused a pain-filled cry to come from the princess' throat. In the next moment, a bloody stone came flying out from within her body. After the stone had been extracted, blood began to splurt out like a fountain from the wound's hole. Straight away, Jianchen lifted his left hand and began to gather a ball of milky white light. The brightness of the sphere began to grow brighter and brighter until the light was nearly dazzling to the eyes within a single moment. Even the dim room was completely illuminated by this light. Yu had her eyes closed, but she could sense a sharp ray of light shining through her closed eyelids. In curiosity, she slowly opened her eyes only to see the white light gathered in Jianchen's hand. At this sight, Yu's beautiful eyes widened in absolute disbelief at what she was seeing. Although she wasn't a Radiant Saint Master, she had seen the Radiant Saint force many a times as the princess to a kingdom. That pure white glow wasn't something any other technique could replicate. Naturally, it only required a single look to recognize that only a Radiant Saint Master could control the Radiant Saint force. Jianchen's hand slowly fell back down to Yu's wounds and began to use the Radiant Saint force to heal the injuries. By this point, Jianchen was already a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master with an abnormally strong control over the Radiant Saint force. His healing abilities were beyond most, so with the wounds caused by the stone being the only matter, it took almost no time before the wound was completely healed up with no scars left. The Radiant Saint Master. Yu's eyes stared at Jianchen with a startled heart. Within the Tianyuan continent, it was completely unheard of for a person to have two types of force. Not only was Jianchen a talented cultivator, but he was also a high-leveled Radiant Saint Master. Jianchen had a faint smile on his face as he spoke. Princess Yu, I hope you can keep this as our secret. Yu's eyes continued to hold a strange gleam as she stared at Jianchen. After a while, she nodded. I will. I won't speak a word of this to anyone. At this moment, Jianchen's previously spectacular figure had somehow managed to become even more perfect in her eyes. Princess Yu, I will continue to treat the wounds on your back then. Hearing this, Yu hesitated for a moment before at last nodding her head in silence. However, just as she started to roll over, the injuries on her back suddenly flared up, causing her face to pale in pain. You should remain as you are now. Allow me. Jian Chen quickly stopped Yu Yu's movements and helped her turn her body over to inspect her wounds. Jian Chen and Yu Yu continued to remain in the same room with each other for about 2 hours before finally being able to walk out of the room together. Because of Jian Chen's ability as a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master, he was able to bring life back to a man who was on the verge of dying from his inner organs failing on him. Yu Yu's injuries were not as severe, so he was able to completely treat her without as much effort. After changing into a new set of clothes, Yu Yu still exuded a shy air to her. Occasionally, she would sneak amorous glances at Jian Chen in a bashful manner. When the king and Changyang Ba took notice, they couldn't help but smile knowingly. The important figures of the Changyang clan and the other representatives of the 3 clans of Lore City had all gathered in the area. Jian Chen's mother and the other aunts had been taken away by the guards to recover from their wounds, so Jian Chen had not been able to see his own mother. After leaving the underground room, Jian Chen began to revert back to his original mood. Losing the gentle face he displayed underground, Jian Chen walked to Chang Wuji and spoke with a heavy expression. "Uncle Chang, just how heavy were our losses?" "Quite heavy. At least 200 casualties have been reported so far, while the wounded are still being accounted for. There are still many guards and servants whose bodies have been buried under the rubble. It will take us some time to excavate them. All of our buildings have been destroyed." Chang Wuji sighed. A flash of killing intent appeared in Jian Chen's eyes. Clenching his fists, Jian Chen's teeth ground together in anger. "Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, I will not let this matter stand. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom are truly uncouth." The king showed a dark expression as well. After being captured by the Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, he was naturally furious. "Fourth Master, the magical beast you were raising has been found." Suddenly, one of the guards came running forward with the snowy white tiger. "The cub!" Jian Chen's heart skipped a beat in surprise and immediately took the cub from the hands of the soldier to inspect it. Upon inspection, Jian Chen could see that the dust had dyed the tiger's white fur gray, but its eyes were closed shut as it slept in hibernation to digest the heavenly resources. Seeing that the tiger cub was fine, Jian Chen let out a sigh in relief. He hadn't thought of how many dangers that could possibly happen before he left, so he hadn't taken the tiger cub with him. After feeding the cub several heavenly resources, he allowed it to fall asleep so that it would wake up only after Jian Chen had returned. The Changyang clan must make a swift recovery. "Chang Wuji, I entrust this matter to you to make the necessary preparations." Changyang Ba spoke. "Yes, this servant understands." Chang Wuji nodded. Hearing this, the eyes of the ruler of Lore City lit up. "Master Changyang, please entrust the artisans to me. I will ensure that the very best artisans rebuild the Changyang clan as swiftly as possible. As for the costs for the materials, please leave that to our 3 clans." Each of the representatives of the 3 other major clans spoke. The Changyang clan hadn't lost any strength after this event. Instead, their fame had exploded, especially to the 3 clans and the city lord. They had been stunned to see the development of the Changyang clan's strength. With 6 Heaven Saint Master in their possession, no regular faction could boast of such a feat. Chapter 477. Plans for Revenge. Changyang Ba began to weave several words of polite refusal to the 3 clans and the city lord. "My Changyang clan truly appreciates your kindness and goodwill, but despite the calamity that has befallen our Changyang clan, we still have enough strength to rebuild on our own. My dear family, why not build the new Changyang Manor within the Imperial City? This way, our 2 families will be much closer to each other. Furthermore, this would allow the Changyang clan to be able to adopt a governmental position with ease." The king of the Jessen Kingdom spoke with an expectant expression. If the power of the Changyang clan wasn't contained in the Imperial City, then it would be a great loss. If the Changyang clan were to be rebuilt within the Imperial City, then the strength of the city would be increased by another level. If something like this happened again, then there would be even more experts ready to answer the call. That is, Changyang Ba began to hesitate. The Changyang clan's roots ran deep within Lore City, but with the strength and fame of the Changyang clan now, they would surely become the #1 faction within the Imperial City. A result like this would not be a tremendous loss, but at the same time, it would be a major issue if they truly wished to relocate. After all, the reason why the Changyang clan was in Lore City was due to the patriarch's arrangements. Seeing Changyang Ba's expression, Chang Wuji's face grew stiff. "My lord, we cannot choose this option. Residing the Changyang clan in Lore City was the decision of our patriarch. Lore City could be said to be our ancestral home, just how could we leave it so easily?" Chang Wuji held an especially special position within the Changyang clan. Although he was not a qualified elder of the clan, even the leader of the clan wouldn't be able to ignore his words. With Chang Wuji's firm opposition, Changyang Ba could only decide on declining the king's suggestion. The king could only sigh inwardly to himself with disappointment. He had truly wished for the Changyang clan to be rebuilt within the imperial city. That way, he would have added a strong addition to his defenses. The servants and several soldiers of the Changyang clan began to clear away the rubble in the compound while the elders stored books in their space rings to prevent anyone from stealing them. After all the preparations were done, the clan took up residency in several inns for the time being. At the same time, they called all of the artisans and blacksmiths of Lore City to work around the clock. More than 1,000 artisans gathered that night and began to rebuild the Changyang clan. The king then issued a decree that made many of the nearby cities send their highest quality building materials, so that the Changyang clan would be able to be constructed with ease. After issuing the decree, the king grew worried with the safety of the imperial palace. So with barely enough time to dress his wounds, the king immediately left to travel back to the palace. However, Jian Chen was worried for the king's safety. Therefore, he had Xiao Tian and Qing Xiaofan accompany the king back. Such an entourage like this would heighten the imperial palace's defenses as well. On the second day, the Changyang clan used a healthy sum of money to hire several radiant saint masters from the nearby cities. Specializing in healing the injuries of others, these radiant saint masters also had plenty of medicines that were powerful in aiding the healing process of the servants and soldiers. The 4 deceased men from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had their space rings and the items within confiscated for the clan. From within, the Changyang clan was able to obtain many precious items, monster cores, and money. There had even been several advanced Earth-tier battle skills that made up for what had been lost. The management of the reconstruction of the Changyang clan was monopolized by Chang Wuji. With him in charge, the others were able to relax a little. Within one of the inns, Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, Jian Chen, and Yu were all standing outside an enclosed room. If seen from a crack outside, a faint white light could be seen shining from within the room. The 4 continued to wait for an hour before the door finally opened. 3 white-robed men with pale complexions came walking out of the room exhausted. These 3 men were Class 4 Radiant Saint Masters from the nearby cities and were among the 7 strongest Radiant Saint Masters in the Jesson Kingdom. When the 3 middle-aged men came walking outside, they greeted the 4th Master, "My lord, with the combined efforts of us 3, the man's injuries have stabilized for the time being. He has already awoken and wishes to see you. I thank you 3 for your troubles." Changyang Ba spoke in gratitude before walking into the room along with Jian Chen, his mother, and Yu right behind him. Laying on the bed was the captain of the Black Armors, Bai Dao. However, his previously pitch-black armor had long since been worn down from the many wounds and injuries he had received. Bai Dao had been treated by 3 Class 4 Radiant Saint Masters, but his wounds had been far too serious. Thus, his wounds were still not fully healed, and his face was still a pale white color. Seeing Jian Chen and the others having no major injuries, Bai Dao let out a sigh in relief before speaking weakly, "How is the situation now?" They naturally understood what Bai Dao meant. It was fortunate that the 5 imperial advisors were here. We were able to beat back the men from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Furthermore, we were even able to kill 4 of them while the remaining survivors fled with heavy injuries. However, our Changyang clan's compound was completely destroyed with at least 380 casualties so far. Bai Dao clenched his fists tightly with a look of hatred. "We must take vengeance for this. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom has been far too unruly. Even the imperial palace of the Jesson Kingdom was destroyed by them, and Senior Yi Ming was injured. Their clash is with us, We involved everyone else and put His Majesty in harm's way. Bai Yun Tian spoke with guilt. Mother, this trouble was brought upon us by your son. Please rest assured, your child will definitely take vengeance for us. I will make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom pay a heavy price for this. Jian Chen growled with a heavy amount of killing intent pouring out from him. Bai Dao gave a look of respect to Jian Chen. Xiangtian, I entrust this task to you then. What you see fit to do to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is up to you. The Jessen Kingdom had only just experienced a war, thus our military strength is still lacking for now. We cannot afford to mobilize a large-scale attack on the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen nodded his head solemnly. I understand, uncle. I already have a plan to deal with them. Xiangtian, you must learn to exploit the resources given to you. The Qinhuang Kingdom has seen fit to give you the title of an imperial protector because of your talent. In the future, when you have enough strength, perhaps the Qinhuang Kingdom will have more need for you. When that time comes, that's when you exploit an advantage. You should do so and not waste it. Bai Dao spoke feebly, but he was still able to speak as the uncle teaching his nephew. When he looked at Jian Chen with grateful eyes, he thought about what honor the Bai clan had gained with such an outstanding grandson. Since it was his uncle giving guidance, Jian Chen adopted a modest and studious attitude. However, his heart did not accept the teachings. His age was not truly reflected by his expression, and he had experienced more things than Bai Dao had. Whatever Bai Dao thought to be a problem was not one to Jian Chen. With the pale face of Bai Dao, Jian Chen had a genuine look of concern that could not be hidden. Although he was 15 years old by the time he had first known about his uncle, they were still dear family. Bai Dao was the brother of his mother and, no matter what was said, they were family. With a twist of his hand, Jian Chen retrieved a white jade bottle from his space ring. From within, Jian Chen took out 2 pills and handed them to Bai Dao. Uncle, these are radiant spirit pills. Please use them to heal yourself. Choosing not to refuse it, Bai Dao accepted the pills with a faint smile. Xiangtian, your uncle will accept these pills then. What expensive items these are. I can bet that a Class 5 Radiant Saint Master created these. Jian Chen's heart skipped a beat at Bai Dao's words. How exactly does one make these pills? He asked. Its manufacturing is extremely troublesome. It requires a Class 5 Radiant Saint Master and an alchemist to simultaneously work together to make a Radiant Spirit pill. Other than that, many rare ingredients and supplements must be gathered. It will fail if there is any negligence, meaning making a Radiant Spirit pill is extremely challenging. The higher the ranking of the pill, the more troublesome it is in making it. Bai Dao explained. Jian Chen's eyes lit up as he secretly concluded to himself that he would definitely find a method to create several pills when he had the time. He would definitely need some in the future, like when he needed to heal someone without the usage of the Radiant Saint Force. After leaving his uncle's room, Jian Chen went straight to Dugu Feng and Ming Dong. I will be leaving for a short amount of time. I'll be troubling you with the protection of my family when the time comes. Hearing this, Ming Dong and Dugu Feng both remained silent, almost as if they had long since knew about Jian Chen's plan. Off to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Ming Dong asked. Jian Chen walked to the window and opened it to stare off at the distant ruins of the Changyang clan. No, to the Qinhuang Palace. The Qinhuang Kingdom. Ming Dong gasped with Dugu Feng immediately guessing Jian Chen's plan. Brother, don't tell me you are planning to. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom will be exterminated. Jian Chen growled. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had stabbed at his reverse scale, so Jian Chen would truly wipe the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom off the face of the Tianyuan continent. At the same time, he would set an example for everyone else with the power of the Qinhuang Kingdom. This would too demonstrate the relationship between the Jessen Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom. After leaving Ming Dong's room, Jian Chen called for Dong Yijunbai, Tian Luo, and Chao Kachin. Would there be any way possible for a space gate to be situated at the Jessen Kingdom? It is, but if one wants an extremely accurate positioning, then a reactive device must be installed. Chao Kachin spoke. Happily, Jian Chen replied. Do you know how to create such a thing? Yes. That's good. Go 10 kilometers away from Lore City and set one up. Jian Chen spoke. Yes, honored Imperial Protector. Chao Kachin cupped his hands together and left. After Chao Kachin left, only Jian Chen, Tian Luo, and Dongyi Junbai were left in the room. Jian Chen's eyes swept across the two with a serious expression. Tian Luo, Dongyi Junbai. I will return to the Qinhuang Kingdom for a moment. You will stay here and protect the Changyang clan from danger for now. My family especially must be protected. Honored Imperial Protector, we will use up all our energy to protect the Changyang clan. The two replied. Standing up from his chair, Jian Chen looked at the two men solemnly. The kindness everyone has shown me here today, I, Jian Chen, will definitely remember and will repay everyone for their kindness. Hearing this, Tian Luo and Dongyi Junbai were extremely joyous. The reason why they followed Jian Chen from the Qinhuang Kingdom was to see Jian Chen's skill for themselves. In their heart, they knew that Jian Chen would attain heights faster than anyone else, so they used this opportunity to draw themselves close. Jian Chen's words were like a promise that made the two unable to contain their joy. If we can serve the Imperial Protector, then it would be our honor. Chapter 478. Returning to Walorant City. Leaving the inn, Jian Chen flew to the exit of Lore City and headed in the direction of the area where Chao Kachin was fiddling with whatever had to be done 10 kilometers away. Arriving at Chao Kachin's side, Jian Chen asked, "How is it, did you finish?" Chao Kachin held 2 fist-sized crystals in his hand. Burying one crystal deep underground, he handed the other to Jian Chen. "I've just finished." Honored Imperial Protector, these 2 crystals share identical energies that cause them to share an amazing connection. If you bring this crystal to whomever is operating the space gate on the other side, they will be able to coordinate the space gate to lock onto wherever the other crystal is. However, it would be for the best that you bring the most detailed map. You have to better locate the targeted area. Jian Chen took the crystal from Chao Kachin and began to study it. It was a sphere-like crystal that sparkled in a way similar to how light would shine through glass. There was also a strange type of energy swirling within that Jian Chen had never seen before. Putting the crystal within his space ring, Jian Chen and Chao Kachin left to return to Lore City. On the second morning, Jian Chen bid farewell to his clan and left the Jessen Kingdom with the white tiger cub. Bai Yuntian had been extremely reluctant to part with her child, but she knew that his task right now was not a simple one. With tears, she bade farewell to her son. The second day after Jian Chen had left the Jessen Kingdom, 6 pale-faced, raggedy Heaven Saint Masters fell back down to the middle of the Imperial Palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The guards at the palace had instantly recognized their group and saluted them straight away before running off to report to the king. The 6 men burst into the palace halls and sat down in their chairs. Several men had extremely serious faces and sat there without a word, but the depressing aura around them was quite palpable. Soon enough, the crisp sound of laughter could be heard from outside. "Haha, I didn't think seniors would be coming back so fast. I wasn't expecting such speed, but just how would the Jessen Kingdom have any strength to defend themselves from us? Have you eliminated that youth, Changyang Xiangtian? If he doesn't die, then he will one day bring disaster upon our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." Laughing, the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom came walking in. The glittering smile on his face emphasized just how cheerful he was. But the 6 men sat there without a word. Not a single one had answered the king. When the king strode into the halls, he noticed that the atmosphere within the area wasn't right. Looking curiously at the 6 men seated nearby, he noticed that they were pale in the face and were depressed as well. Immediately, the smile on his face disappeared as his mood dropped. From the expression of the 6, the king could roughly guess that the end results had not been at all like he expected. Growing serious, the king spoke, "Honored seniors, just what in the world happened?" "AI." One of the 6 sighed to the sky with a pain-filled look. "This time, we've angered the wrong people. Originally, everything was going as planned, but when the moment came for us to grab Changyang Xiangtian at his clan compound, 5 Heaven Saint Masters came out to fight us. Their power was far too strong. Even together, we were not a match for them. In the end, they killed 4 of us and forced the rest of us to flee. We even had to throw away our hostages in order to distract our pursuers and escape with our lives. The king was stunned into silence as he listened. His entire body became paralyzed. This type of result was something he simply could not imagine in 1,000 years. He never thought that with 10 Heaven Saint Masters sent to the Jesson Kingdom, they would be beaten. Not only that, but 4 of them had been killed and the rest were lucky to escape. Your Highness, we suspect that the 5 Heaven Saint Masters residing within the Changyang clan were in fact the 5 imperial advisors from the Qin Huang Kingdom. Only they would have so much strength like that. The red-haired man spoke with difficulty. Hearing this, the king began to tremble in utter disbelief. Could there truly be a connection between the Changyang clan and the Qin Huang Kingdom? I can only hope our suspicions are wrong. The red-haired man sighed. In the blink of an eye, many had passed days since Jian Chen had left the Jesson Kingdom. After traveling for so many days, he had finally arrived back at Walorant City. Walorant City was located within the Jia Kingdom and was the city that Jian Chen had met Qin Shao. He and Qin Shao hadn't seen each other for half a year already, so he had begun to miss him. Thus, he would take this chance to go see him first. There had been no noticeable changes to Walorant City since the last time Jian Chen was here. It had been one and the same, and from the moment Jian Chen walked into the city, the area all around him flashed back in his mind to the day when Ming Dong and he first arrived. This caused his expression to be quite absent-minded. Subconsciously, Jian Chen arrived at the giant gates leading to the Tianqin clan. He was prepared to walk right in when the guards standing by the side stopped him from getting too close. Halt! This is the residence of the Tianqin clan. Outsiders are not allowed in. The guard spoke in a stale voice as he looked at Jian Chen. Jian Chen looked at the soldiers. They were not the same ones from before, so they wouldn't know him either. After thinking for a moment, Jian Chen decided to speak with them. I am looking for Qin Shao, please send a message to him for me. At this moment, the young master isn't accepting visitors. Come back another day. Jian Chen's eyebrows furrowed together, but just as he was about to speak, a carriage suddenly came traveling forward at high speeds. Right above the carriage was a single banner with the word, Qin. Quickly, the carriage stopped right in front of the Tianqin clan compound. A single white-colored dress-wearing woman with a delicate figure came stepping out of the carriage. Although her face was covered, it did not take much to guess that her appearance befitted that of a woman capable of bringing down a country with her beauty. The woman stepped off the carriage, and the moment she saw Jian Chen, a look of confusion overcame her face. Shortly after, a look of shock overcame her look of confusion and asked, "If I may ask, are you Lord Jian Chen?" The woman's voice was extremely light and was like the singing of a skylark. Jian Chen arrived right in front of the woman and bowed his hands with a smile. I didn't think I would come across the second lady here. It has been a year since our last meeting. Your beauty has grown much since then. Chapter 479. Tianqin clan. The second lady of the Tianqin clan gently glided forward to Jian Chen and stared at him with a strange light in her beautiful eyes. Lord Jian Chen is quite the famous person now. The glorious title of the King of Mercenaries has been so gained by Lord Jian Chen. When the 2 guards heard what the second lady was saying, their faces grew startled. Turning to look at Jian Chen in a whole new light, they began to feel the utmost regret in their hearts. Especially the guard that had firmly refused Jian Chen from entering the clan. His face turned utterly pale. Blast! I didn't think that he would be the king of mercenaries, Jian Chen. Just what words did I use to speak to him with? Jian Chen cupped his hands together with a smile. The second lady's words are too serious. This one only received such a title due to luck, that's all. Lord Jian Chen is truly modest. The second lady's beautiful eyes revealed a faint smiling expression. Looking at Jian Chen with even more admiration, she spoke, Lord Jian Chen, since you are here at our Tianqin clan, please come in and sit for a while. This one was here for such a purpose. Jian Chen smiled pleasantly without an air of arrogance. Please come in then, my lord. The second lady waved her hand before walking alongside him into the courtyards. As she passed the guards, she gave a reproachful eye to the both of them and commanded, This is Lord Jian Chen, an honored guest to our Tianqin clan. I pray that you won't be so impolite in the future. Now apologize to Lord Jian Chen with haste. Terrified, the two guards immediately knelt on the ground and spoke with panic. "Your servant should die a thousand's death. Please forgive this servant, Lord Jianchen." The guards knew how far the influence of being the king of mercenaries went. If the Tianqin clan were to find out that they had stopped the king of mercenaries from paying a visit and tried to drive him out, the guards were terrified to think just what serious punishment would befall them. Let it be, this was a trivial matter. Best to forget about it. Jianchen was not one that finagled with every little thing, and what just happened was not something that was out of the ordinary to him. Many major clans had guards with at least some arrogance. Even his Changyang clan was no different. Jianchen followed the second lady into the Tianqin clan while the news that the king of mercenaries had arrived quickly spread like wildfire through the guards and to the clan leader. So not too long after Jianchen entered the courtyards, Qin Zhao's father and the other elders came out to personally greet him. "Ah, we welcome brother Jianchen's presence in our Tianqin clan. Your presence brings light to my humble abode." The leader of the Tianqin clan laughed with a respectful greeting. Right now Jianchen's identity was not the same as it was before. With the title of King of Mercenaries, even the leader of the Tianqin clan would have to treat him vastly different than he had before. After exchanging several words of greeting with the leader, Jianchen was provided with warm hospitality in the halls. Meanwhile, the news that he was here continued to spread within the Tianqin clan. Several of the other high-ranking members caught wind of his arrival and came running to meet him. Some wished to become friends with him while the others wished to see the grace of the king of mercenaries. Within one of the more luxurious rooms of the Tianqin clan, the sounds of the grunts of a man and the erotic sounds of a woman could be heard. Just then, a housekeeper suddenly came running in and knocked on the door. "Young master, this servant has just received word that the king of mercenaries, Jianchen, has arrived by our Tianqin clan." Within the room, Tianju was currently intertwined with a beautiful woman on the bed. Hearing the housekeeper speak, his entire body began to shake and another part of his body grow impotent. "What? Jianchen is here in our clan compound?" Tianju couldn't help but think back to what happened between he and Jianchen a year ago, causing his face to turn pale. "Jianchen came to the Tianqin clan. He has to be looking for me. Oh no. I can't stay here." Tianju immediately lost all his drive to continue having with the woman under him. Ignoring the bitterness in her voice, he immediately got off the bed and began to dress. "Housekeeper Tian, prepare a carriage. I will leave the city at once. Do not tell this to anyone." At this moment, Jianchen was talking with the high-ranking members of the Tianqin clan. Now that he was the king of mercenaries, the entire Tianqin clan had to treat him with the utmost respect. None of them dared act as if he was nothing like they did a year ago, especially the Tian family. For the sake of apologizing for Tianju's misunderstanding with Jianchen a year ago, they had to be extra sincere. After several exchanges, Jianchen got to the root of the problem. Facing the leader of the Tianqin clan, he spoke, "My lord, I wish to see Qin Shao. My deepest apologies, but ever since his return from the gathering of the mercenaries, my son has gone with the grand elder behind closed-door cultivation and has not yet returned." The man spoke apologetically, but inwardly he was pleased. If his son and Jianchen were to remain close, when the day came for his son to become the leader of the clan, the Tianqin clan would earn an extremely strong friend. There were rumors throughout the Tianyuan continent. Whenever there was a new gathering of the mercenaries, if they were able to fully mature at the very least, they would become a heaven saint master. The rest would usually be able to have a good chance of breaking through to become a saint ruler. Hearing that Qin Shao wasn't here, Jianchen had a disappointed look on his face. He had came to the Tianqin clan today just for the purpose of seeing him. Afterward, the Tianqin clan tried to persuade Jianchen to stay even longer in hopes that Jianchen would agree while also sending men to call back Qin Shao. Finally, Jianchen relented and promised that he would stay one more day. However, he declined the clan's attempt to have them recall Qin Shao back. He had not wished to disturb Qin Zhao's cultivation. Jianchen was well received within the Tianqin clan, and that night, a feast was prepared for Jianchen. After the feast, Jianchen was given a luxurious room that was specially prepared for him. At this moment, the the cub that had been sleeping around Jian Chen's chest finally awoke. Opening its bright eyes, it began to look around the room before jumping onto Jian Chen's shoulder, using its furry head to rub Jian Chen's cheek. "Little thing, you finally awoke after so long." Jian Chen laughed as he pet the cub. Feeling the energy within the tiger cub, Jian Chen could sense that the tiger cub was now at the Class 3 level. The cub gave a mewling sound as it began to sniff at Jian Chen's space ring with its nose. Realizing what the tiger cub was doing, Jian Chen felt some shock. The tiger cub's intelligence had grown by a large amount if it was able to use this way to find the heavenly resources. This cub truly deserves to be called a heavenly tiger god, Jian Chen thought. Taking out some serpentine grass, core lotus flowers, and purple fruit, Jian Chen began to feed them one by one to the white tiger cub. After several heavenly resources were fed, the tiger cub immediately fell back into a meditative sleep. Placing the sleeping tiger cub onto the bed, Jian Chen put the remaining heavenly resources back into his space ring with a worrying glance. "There's not many heavenly resources left. I probably only have enough for it to reach the Class 4 level before I run out. I must go find some more sooner or later, or the cub's strength will be stalled," he muttered. The night quickly passed, and on the second morning, Jian Chen took the tiger cub from his room with him to bid farewell to the Tianqin clan. On the way through the flower garden, the sounds of a zither could be heard as the second lady of the Tianqin clan sat within the center of a pavilion with her instrument. Hearing the emotional sounds of the zither, Jian Chen couldn't help but think back to the heavenly enchantress he had met back in the holy lands of Mercenary City. The heavenly enchantress had been magnificent and peerless under the heavens. Her beauty could capture the hearts of even the animals and shame the moon and flowers. The world would lose its splendor. Even Jian Chen couldn't help but sigh in admiration for this once-in-a-generation woman. Jian Chen calmly walked to the pavilion where the second lady was. Upon looking at the zither on the stone desk, his eyes grew shocked. When he saw the heavenly enchantress in the Holy Lands, he had been able to see the zither she had with her. This very zither the second lady of the Tianqin clan was using was the exact same one as the heavenly enchantress. This was far too unexpected. Jian Chen hadn't disturbed the second lady and instead stood very still. Soon enough, the ballad the second lady was playing on her zither finished, allowing her to turn around. "Lord Jian Chen, please sit." There was a faint layer of muslin covering her face so that her appearance could not be seen. Without further ado, Jian Chen walked to the seat right in front of the second lady and sat down. The second lady's slender fingers gently brushed the zither's string with a slight melodic sound. Looking to Jian Chen, she spoke. "This woman knows that Lord Jian Chen is not an enthusiast for the zither. So, what might the Lord be doing standing behind this lady then?" Smiling, Jian Chen spoke. This one had noticed that the second lady's zither and the zither of the heavenly enchantress are the same. "I was merely curious and decided to take a closer look. If I disturbed you, then please forgive me." The second lady's eyes revealed a surprised light enter them. "Has Lord Jian Chen met the heavenly enchantress?" "I met her by chance in Mercenary City," Jian Chen spoke. Understanding straight away, the second lady of the Tianqin clan spoke. "The Lord has overlooked a detail. This zither of mine is merely a counterfeit version of the zither of the demonic cry. On the outside, the two look exactly the same, but there are many of these fakes. So it's like that, this one was too hasty in my observations." Afterward, Jian Chen spoke several conversational words before finally saying goodbye. "Second lady, today this one will be leaving the Tianqin clan. I hope that we will see each other again in the future. Goodbye." "Is the Lord leaving that quickly?" Holding the zither in her hands, the second lady began to walk leisurely with Jian Chen in the manner that a well-brought-up lady would act. "This one has an important matter to take care of that cannot be delayed. Thus, I cannot stay for long," Jian Chen replied. After Jian Chen bade farewell to the second lady, Jian Chen left to find the leader of the Tianqin clan. Although the Tianqin clan leader wished for him to stay even longer, Jian Chen was determined to leave. Nothing would force him to stay any longer, so it was only with regret that the leader bade farewell to Jian Chen. As soon as Jian Chen left the Tianqin clan, He went to buy a detailed map of the area at a nearby emporium. Finding the Dazhou kingdom on it, he immediately set off for it. In all of this, he had inadvertently sent Tianju scrambling away from Walorant City in vain. Chapter 480. Return to the Qinhuang Kingdom. The Dazhou Kingdom wasn't far from the Tianqin clan. After several hours of flight, Jianchen finally arrived at one of the strongholds of the Dazhou Kingdom. In accordance to the map, Jianchen followed the directions to the imperial city. After another 4 hours of flight, Jianchen traveled 3,000 kilometers into the kingdom and finally arrived at the imperial city. This time, since he was requesting their help and wished to be courteous and respectful, he did not fly straight for the imperial palace and instead descended to the ground right in front of the palace gates. There were guards day and night at the imperial palace, and the arrival of a Heaven Saint Master shocked everyone and prompted for the head watch to immediately head down to greet Jianchen respectfully. "Senior, this one is the captain of the 5th Guard Unit. Might this one know the reason for Senior's presence?" As he spoke, the man looked curiously at Jianchen. When he took note of how young Jianchen was, the captain couldn't help but feel surprised. After a while, he concluded that Jianchen must have used some sort of secret to maintain his youthful appearance, allowing his real age to remain hidden. "This one is the imperial advisor for the Qinhuang Kingdom. I came here today to your kingdom to pay a visit. Please send a message for me." Jianchen spoke calmly. Upon hearing that the person in front of him was the imperial advisor for the Qinhuang Kingdom, the captain was immediately startled. "Yes, your servant will send one right away. You there, escort Senior into the palace." The captain commanded a person to escort Jianchen while he himself used some sort of movement technique to disappear into the palace. Whenever a Heaven Saint Master came to pay a visit, it was never for a small matter. The imperial advisor of the Qinhuang Kingdom would most definitely have an extremely large matter. So the captain didn't dare be negligent and immediately ran off to report to the king. Within the magnificent palace of the Dazhou Kingdom, several beautiful women with plenty of makeup could be seen singing and dancing with barely any clothes covering their pale bodies. Right in front of them was a pure gold table with all sorts of exotic delicacies. The king was a single man in his 50s and wore a golden dragon robe. Sitting right in front of the table, he was currently enjoying the performance in front of him. Just at that moment, a single court eunuch came running in and knelt before the king's side and whispered in his ear. Suddenly, a startled expression overcame the king's face. Turning to look at the court eunuch, he spoke, "What? An imperial advisor of the Qinhuang Kingdom is here to pay a visit?" "Yes, your highness. The captain of the palace guards came to report to me. He would not lie." Standing straight up, the king strode straight for the outside of the halls and spoke, "Come with me to greet him, and have some people bring the imperial advisor over." Jianchen had been relocated to one of the more grand-looking palace halls where the king began to warmly receive him. 5 white-haired elders came walking into the palace. As soon as they entered and saw Jianchen, they immediately sat down on some nearby chairs. Greeting Jianchen, the king of the Dazhou Kingdom spoke, "Honored imperial advisor from the Qinhuang Kingdom, these are my 5 imperial advisors." Jianchen smiled and cupped his hands toward the 5. These 5 were not strangers to him. Last time he was here, they were the ones that he saw when he was with the Tianqin clan as they used the space gate to get to Mercenary City. The 5 imperial advisors did a friendly salute to Jianchen as well before exchanging several words of greeting. For the imperial advisor of the Qinhuang Kingdom to come here, this is an honor for our Dazhou Kingdom. But considering this is quite the important manner, if we may, could sire please show proof of his status? Jianchen gave a faint smile. He knew that the opposition would definitely doubt his identity. The Qinhuang Kingdom was too far away from the Dazhou Kingdom. For an imperial advisor to pay a visit to the Dazhou Kingdom, there would definitely be suspicion. Jianchen took out a purple jade pendant from within his space ring to show to the elder. Would this item suffice in proof? The elder took the jade piece from Jianchen and began to inspect it. It was made of expert craftsmanship and carried the banner of the Qinhuang Kingdom. The word Qin was carved in on it while on the other side was the word protect. However, When the elder realized just what material this jade was made from, his eyes lit up in fierce surprise. This is spirit amethyst. Hearing this, the surrounding 4 imperial advisors let loose a shocked expression. Naturally, they knew just what spirit amethyst was. It was an extremely rare and high-quality jade, an item that even the nobles wouldn't be able to buy. It is said that the spirit amethysts were made from the purple clouds that gathered within the world. Such an event was extremely rare and could barely be seen on the Tianyuan continent. An important cultural thing I can't really explain. Seeing that the token was made from the especially rare spirit amethyst, the imperial advisors were completely convinced that Jian Chen was who he said he was. Inwardly, they were still surprised and thought to themselves, it is no wonder the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great empires. Even the imperial advisors are given a medallion made purely from spirit amethyst. They were not from the Qinhuang kingdom, and they were far too far away for them to know the schematics behind the Qinhuang kingdom. Little did they know that an imperial advisor from the Qinhuang would only be given a medallion made from a rare type of metal as proof. It was not made from spirit amethyst at all, neither would an imperial advisor have the word protect carved on their medallions. Only 5 people within the Qinhuang kingdom were qualified to hold a medallion made from spirit amethyst. Returning the jade back to Jian Chen, the imperial advisor smiled, "Please forgive my earlier curiosity. I hope Senior won't take offense to it." After confirming his identity, everyone began to treat Jian Chen even better than before. After both sides exchanged some words of conversation, Jian Chen moved onto the heart of the matter. "Today I come to your esteemed kingdom to borrow your space gate. Would that be fine with you?" Yes, of course it's fine. Our imperial advisors will open it for you at any time you need." The king didn't hesitate to agree to Jian Chen's request. Pausing for a moment, he added, "Our Dazhou kingdom and the Qinhuang kingdom may be far away, but I hope that we can become allies in the future. This one hopes that Senior will convey our intentions back to Qinhuang kingdom." "I will make sure to convey those words." Jian Chen replied to their request. This area was the only territory with a space gate, and Jian Chen had no idea just how often he would need to use this gate. So he would need to ensure that the connection between the 2 kingdoms wouldn't falter. Afterward, Jian Chen followed the king of the Dazhou kingdom out to where the space gate was. The space gate had an array overlaid onto it and had a mysterious and complex magic to it. A single imperial advisor took out several Class 5 monster cores from his space ring and inserted it into the cavities of the space gate. With enough power, the array began to light up and surge with energy. Finally, a 3-meter large door formed. The insides of the door frame warped in a chaotic way. "Imperial advisor, where might your destination be?" The imperial advisors controlling the space gate spoke to Jian Chen. "The Qinhuang kingdom." Taking a look at the map, the imperial advisors found the location and swiftly began to manipulate the space gate. In a flash, the space within the space gate began to clear up to form an image of a large range of mountains. Since we have no markers, we cannot ascertain the location of the Qinhuang kingdom's location. We will only be able to send you to a rough coordinate. Although it isn't within the Qinhuang kingdom's territory, it should be bordering it. Imperial advisor, please head on in. The elder controlling the space gate spoke. "I will be sure to come back to give my thanks in the future." Jian Chen spoke before entering the gate. With a single small pacing of his feet, he crossed countless of kilometers. After Jian Chen walked out from the space gate, it disappeared without a trace behind him and returned to its original form. Looking around, Jian Chen could see that he was standing within a flat mountain range with mountains all around. After taking out his map to look at for a while, he immediately began to fly into the general direction of where the sun was. After half a day, Jian Chen finally arrived at the Qinhuang kingdom's imperial palace and descended down. As soon as he touched down, several soldiers with a frightful amount of killing intent came flying over. At the same time, several strong amounts of qi could be felt from within the Qinhuang kingdom. Soon, several Heaven Saint Masters with a hostile nature came flying out to surround Jian Chen. When they saw just who the newcomer was, their faces were stunned for a moment before cupping their hands together. "We pay our respects to the imperial protector." At this moment, the soldiers surrounding Jianchen realized just who he was. Straight away, the killing intent they had exuded disappeared without a trace. Several hundred people began to kneel down right in front of him. "We pay our respects to the honored imperial protector." These were the soldiers of the elite with strengths beyond the norms. As they all spoke out in unison, it was as if thunder could be heard rumbling throughout the palace. Jianchen allowed the soldiers to rise before turning to the confused Heaven Saint Masters. Did something happen for the Qinhuang kingdom to be this nervous? "Imperial protector, our palace forbids the usage of flying. Even we must walk to enter the palace. When we saw a person flying into the palace, we had all assumed it was an enemy." One of the imperial advisors spoke. Jianchen suddenly realized that he had not stayed within the Qinhuang kingdom for that long, so he didn't know the rules of this land. "You may leave for now. I've some matters I wish to discuss with the king first." With that, Jianchen left the area. Jianchen spread his presence to cover the entire palace, and soon enough discovered the king to be in his study and rushed in that direction. Although the Qinhuang palace had strict security with a guard every 3 steps and a patrol every 5, Jianchen's status as an imperial protector was enough for him to walk unimpeded. No one had the desire to stop him, so Jianchen was able to enter the king's study where the king was leisurely reading a book at his table. Chapter 481. Borrowing soldiers. The king of the Qinhuang kingdom sat in his study with a book in hand as he read it with interest. The sounds of Jianchen entering the room startled him, causing him to turn his eyes away from his book. When he saw that it was Jianchen that had disturbed him, he had a startled look on his face. Jianchen's sudden arrival was not something he had expected. Slowly putting down the book in his hand, the king smiled. "I hadn't imagined that the imperial protector would come pay me visit. Please take a seat." Jianchen sat down right in front of the king with a slightly surprised look. "Despite it only being several days since I last saw your majesty, His Highness still looks as well as ever. Living to the age of 500 will be of no problem." Laughing, the king replied, "As expected, I cannot hide anything from the imperial protector. Several days back, I used some heavenly resources and made a breakthrough with the help of a royal ancestor. Although I became stronger, it is still a far ways away from the imperial protector." The two sides began to talk for a little before Jianchen finally spoke what was on his mind. "Your Majesty, in truth, I came back for an important matter that requires the help of the Qinhuang kingdom." The king immediately realized that it had to be serious if Jianchen would come running all the way back. Growing grim, he spoke, "Speak what you need then. You are the imperial protector of our Qinhuang kingdom. With your status as such, whatever your issue is an issue of our Qinhuang kingdom too. I wish for an army division. A division of the elites." Jianchen spoke. "A single division of the army? Is there a war happening?" the king asked with surprise. Jianchen nodded. "Correct, there will be war." Afterward, Jianchen explained just what had happened in the Jessen kingdom, much to the king's surprise. When he spoke of the destruction that had happened to his clan, the king carried a murderous air to him. After hearing Jianchen's narration of the story, the king's face had an angry tint to it. Exploding with fury, he spoke, "How preposterous! This heavenly eagle kingdom has been far too savage. Do they dare treat the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom as if he was nothing? Your Majesty, I must destroy the heavenly eagle kingdom. Thus, I require an elite division of soldiers and the use of the space gate to send them to the Jessen kingdom. I will upfront the costs of the monster cores." Jianchen spoke. Hearing this, the king hesitated for a moment. "Jianchen, your authority allows you to command a division of 1,000,000 at will without needing to report to anyone. However, we should talk about this matter once more tomorrow." "That is fine, I will await His Majesty tomorrow." Jianchen didn't mince any words and left straight away. Some time after Jianchen had left, the king sat there with his eyebrows narrowed together deep in thought. Then, after putting his book back into its original spot, he left the study. After Jianchen left the king's study, he left for the Qin Heaven Palace. From far away, Jianchen could already see several guards standing right by the palace as if they were stone. The Qin Heaven Palace belonged Jianchen since he was an imperial protector. Although he wasn't there, the guards wouldn't slack off. Day and night, multiple guards could be seen stationed there and many more would patrol the area during the daytime. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. Naturally, when Jianchen came walking into the Qin Heaven Palace, all of the guards there knelt down in subservience. With the tiger cub in hand, Jianchen strode into the palace. The guards opened the palace doors for him, so he wouldn't have to do so himself, before gingerly closing it after he entered. These girl pays our respects to the imperial protector. As soon as Jianchen entered the Qin Heaven Palace, several outstanding beauties immediately stooped forward in salute. They were the maids of the Qin Heaven Palace who stayed within the palace even if Jianchen wasn't there. You may leave to do your own thing, don't mind me. Jianchen spoke before returning to his personal bedroom. Gently putting the tiger cub on the bed, Jianchen sat by his table and began to think. He knew that using the space gate to transport an army would require a huge sum of Class 5 monster cores, but he had killed many Heaven Saint Masters and obtained plenty of Class 5 and Class 6 monster cores from their space rings. In total, it had been a plentiful harvest of Class 5 monster cores and there were a decent amount of Class 6 monster cores now. Right now, Jianchen was thinking about just how many people could be transported. Although it didn't need to be a large number, their strength had to be high enough in order for them to destroy the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom without the help of the Jessen Kingdom while also inspiring fear. Honored Imperial Protector, please have some tea. A maid came bearing tea and placed it right in front of Jianchen. As soon as Jianchen finished his tea, a single guard could be heard from outside his room. I've a report for the honored Imperial Protector. The third prince seeks an audience. Upon hearing Qin Ji's arrival, Jianchen immediately went out to greet him in person. As the two met, Qin Ji smiled. Jianchen, it really is you. I heard people shouting for the Imperial Protector, so I guessed it was you. I didn't think that my guess would be right. Laughing, Jianchen replied, come in then, let's not stand out here. The two walked into the Qin Heaven Palace and sat right in front of a table. Straight away, Qin Ji spoke. Jianchen, I didn't think that you would return that fast. Did you take care of everything with your family? You can stay here for a while longer then. Jianchen shook his head. As soon as one wave ceases, another wave of trouble comes forth. I came here to borrow an army. Borrow an army? Qin Ji was startled. Is the enemy that strong if Xiao Tian and the others weren't enough to keep the peace? The imperial advisors of our Qinhuang kingdom are selected carefully. Xiao Tian and the other 4 are strong enough to fight enemies 2-1. Afterward, Jianchen relayed the story to Qin Ji. As soon as the story ended, Qin Ji exploded with a furious snarl. That Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is far too much. They should truly be exterminated. But Jianchen, to transport an entire division through a space gate would require the usage of plenty of monster cores. I think that you should bring some imperial advisors with you. With them helping you exterminate the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, they won't even exist in name. Jianchen shook his head. Qin Ji's way of thinking was far too simplistic. If it was just a matter of extinguishing the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, Xiao Tian's group and Jianchen would be enough to complete the task. All it would require is some energy, that's all. The reason why he had run all the way here to borrow an army, and use so many monster cores to transport them, was for a different reason that was not as simplistic. Qin Ji, what is your general estimation for how many monster cores I'll need to transport an entire division? Jianchen asked. A space gate uses 6 monster cores for a single-time use. I presume you understand that a space gate requires a steady stream of energy to power it. If people can cross into the space gate fast enough, then 6 Class 5 monster cores should be enough for about 600 people. Having said that, this equates to a single Class 5 monster core being enough to allow 100 people entry. Do you understand the terrifying costs of how much energy is needed now? A Class 5 monster core can send 100 people. Then that means 100 Class 5 monster cores could send 10,000 people. What a hefty cost. Jianchen muttered. Correct, I suggest you give up on such a thought. Class 5 monster cores aren't so easily found as Class 2 or Class 3 monster cores. 100 Class 5 monster cores can only send 10,000 people. That is a number too small and isn't practical. Bring several strong experts instead. Jianchen smiled. Although the cost is large, it isn't beyond my expectations. Qin Ji was stunned. Looking at Jianchen with suspicion, he spoke. Jianchen, just how many Class 5 monster cores do you have, you little devil? What is a single Class 6 monster core in comparison to a Class 5 monster core? Jianchen answered him without really answering the question. Qin Ji thought about it for a moment before saying, a Class 6 monster core is extremely rare. Only Heaven Saint Masters are able to kill the monsters with one, and those are still rare to come by. All of the Class 6 magical beasts are centered within the depths of Cross Mountain. Barely any roam outside of it, and that area is a forbidden area for us humans. Whichever Heaven Saint Master that entered the Cross Mountains before had all died. So Class 6 monster cores from there are hard to come by, but their price as a result are 100 to 1,000 times more expensive than a Class 5 monster core. If you have a Class 6 monster core, then I wouldn't be able to make certain of the exact number. I'd imagine that it would be the same as using several hundred Class 5 monster cores. If people hurry, then it could possibly be equivalent to 1,000 Class 5 monster cores. If the Class 5 monster cores aren't enough, then I'll use Class 6 monster cores then. Jianchen muttered. On the second day, Jianchen found the king and once more began to talk of yesterday's request. This time, the king had a smile on his face. Jianchen, I spoke with the royal ancestor yesterday. He has told me that our Qinhuang kingdom will give you the monster cores needed to transport 1,000,000 soldiers. If more are needed, it will be up to you to make up for the deficit. Hearing this, Jianchen was overjoyed. These words of the king would mean that Jianchen would be able to save plenty of monster cores. I thank His Majesty for his generosity. Jianchen accepted the offer right away. The king laughed merrily. Our Qinhuang kingdom has 5 divisions, each one of them being elite-trained soldiers. Each division has 2,000,000 soldiers. 4 divisions are located within each of the 4 strongholds. The final division is located here at the Imperial City. Named the Eastern Deity Swords, they are tasked with the important mission of protecting the Imperial City. Jianchen, if you wish for a large division, then take some from the Eastern Deity Swords. Chapter 482, 500,000 strong army. That's fine then, there's no time to lose. I will need a division of 500,000. Jianchen spoke impatiently. 500,000 should be more than enough. The king smiled. Jianchen, transferring the soldiers to you doesn't require me to personally come with you to transfer them. I will send a decree to the Eastern Deity Swords and have them send their strongest 500,000 with you. However, the transferring of that many troops will not be so quick. It will require some time. Jianchen nodded. That will be fine, I will wait for the news then. After the business talks were done, Jianchen relayed the Dazhou kingdom's desire of an alliance with the Qinhuang kingdom to the king. He had promised the Dazhou kingdom that he would deliver the message, but whether or not the 2 kingdoms would really work toward an alliance was of no concern to him. Giving several more moments of small talk, Jianchen finally left the king's palace and returned to his own Qin Heaven Palace. Afterward, he called out to one of the maids, I will be cultivating for a while. Notify the rest that I am not to be disturbed. I will not meet anyone before then, and I will not have anyone try to. This servant understands. The maid replied respectfully before bowing out to inform everyone. Jianchen sat on his bed and exhaled slowly. Then taking the skeleton of the Saint Ruler out from his space ring, he began to inspect it slowly. The Saint Ruler skeleton was about 2 meters in height and looked quite sturdy. Just from looking at the skeleton one would know that the person had to have been quite sturdy when he was alive. The bones were snowy white and were nearly transparent with a resplendent light emanating from them that made them seem like a precious treasure. On the skeleton itself was a faint movement of light that seemed as if there was mercury flowing over it. This was the second time Jianchen had seen a Saint Ruler skeleton, but the situation was different than from the first time. Perhaps it was because his strength was equivalent to a Heaven Saint Master, but he was clearly able to feel the distinct energy within the skeleton's bones. The energy within was like a vast ocean of water. Exhaling, Jianchen slowly calmed down and closed his eyes. Then, communicating with the two sword spirits, he thought, Xing, Qingsu, could you help me convert the Saint Ruler's skeleton into chaotic force? Yes, master. Xing and Qingsu both answered without hesitation and moved in coordination. From Jianchen's hand came two glows of light, separating to form a male in violet robes and a female in azure robes. The male was handsome and the female was beautiful in a way that made them both seem like a pair of immortals married to each other. Xing and Qingsu both held their hands up, causing the skeleton to fly up in between them through the use of some sort of hidden force. Xing and Qingsu extended both arms now. A wave of azure and violet light wafted from them and enveloped the Saint Ruler's skeleton. The process of converting the skeleton was quite fast. After 4 hours or so, a gray-colored energy began to waft from the Saint Ruler's skeleton into Jianchen's body, to where his dantian was. Master, use the azulate sword laws to refine the chaotic force. Xing's voice could be heard within Jianchen's mind before his person disappeared from Jianchen's sight. As prompted, Jianchen made use of the next 4 hours in order to refine the chaotic force into a force he could use. Following that, Jianchen immediately looked within himself where a wall scroll suddenly appeared within his mind. In his dantian were two black-colored energies that slowly floated about with a presence that would quicken the heartbeat of anyone that felt it. Last time, Jianchen had been able to use the two ruler armaments to convert them into chaotic force. With one strand, he was able to strengthen his body while the other had been kept in reserve. With this Saint Ruler skeleton, he now had 2 strands of it. Seeing the 2 gray-colored wisps of energy in his dantian, Jianchen hesitated for a moment before asking, if I were to use the chaotic force to strengthen my body, would that be a problem? The last time, Jianchen had done so recklessly and caused his entire body to curl up in pain to the point where he was barely able to withstand it. There won't be a problem now, master. You may use the chaotic force without a problem. Although it may hurt, it won't be as bad as before. The one who spoke was Qingsu with a melodic voice that was pleasant to hear. That's fine then. Jianchen let loose a breath of air as he felt his heart ease up a little. Straight away, he began to use the chaotic force to temper his body. As the chaotic force coursed through his body, Jianchen didn't feel as strong of a pain as before. Right now, the chaotic force was no longer destroying his body as it passed. Although there was still pain, it was well within Jianchen's tolerance levels. It was just as Xing said, Jianchen would be able to withstand this. The chaotic force continued to slowly travel through his body while Jianchen could feel his body strengthening at incredible speeds. His meridians, muscles all felt a noticeable improvement. Jianchen's body made a single great leap in strength after the chaotic force completed a single circuit. He could distinctly feel that his body was far better than before, and the chaotic force had only used up 1/3 of itself. Without stopping, Jianchen continued to make use of the chaotic force to strengthen his body. After the 3rd revolution, the strand of chaotic force had finally been used up completely. Jianchen opened his eyes and nimbly leaped from his bed. Both feet planted squarely on the ground as he measured himself up and felt around his body. To his senses, he felt that he was many times stronger than before. Although his body was still flexible and firm, its defensive capabilities were many times stronger. Xing, Qingsu, with my current body strength, will I be able to make use of the chaotic force? Jianchen asked. You cannot, master. While your body has indeed improved by a decent amount, it is still a far ways away from being able to use it. Master will need to use the chaotic force several more times before the minimum requirement is reached, but even then, Master would only be able to use an impure version of the chaotic force. Jianchen sighed to himself. It seemed that even after successfully using the chaotic force, he would still not be able to use it. If it's like that, then leaving the other strand of chaotic force in my dantian is useless. I may as well use it to refine myself again to increase my body's strength. With that, Jianchen sat back down and began to use the last strand of chaotic force to strengthen his body. After the 2nd strand had been used up, it was already late in the afternoon. As soon as his consciousness returned to his body, Jianchen could sense a maid standing quietly outside the door. Getting off the bed, Jianchen inspected himself with a joyous expression after seeing the results. With my current body strength, even a peak Great Saint Master won't constitute as a threat to me. If things go on like this, then perhaps there will be a day where even Heaven Saint Masters will be unable to harm me. Although being unable to use the chaotic force was a great shame, the strength it had given his body was a thing to truly be happy about. Jianchen happily walked out from his room only to see the maid that was outside his room salute him, a report for the honored imperial protector. The generals of the Eastern deity swords are here to seek an audience. A light in Jianchen's eyes sparkled. Let them in. Yes. Not too long after, 3 armored generals came walking in from the outside. All 3 men had staunch expressions. One of them looked to be 60 years old while the other 2 were around 40 years old. All of them wore white armor and radiated a powerful aura that screamed for blood. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. The 3 men saluted Jianchen. 3 generals, please rise. What shall I call you by? Jianchen smiled kindly. General Qin Wuming, Vice Commander-in-Chief of the Eastern Deity Swords. The elder spoke first. Then, the 2 middle-aged men by his side revealed their names as well. General Qin Wutian, Military Governor of the Eastern Deity Swords. General Qin Wujian, Military Governor of the Eastern Deity Swords. 3 generals, I presume His Majesty has already explained the situation to you? Jianchen smiled, but inwardly he was surprised. All 3 of them had the same surname. Were they all related to the royal family? The Vice Commander-in-Chief of the Eastern Deity Swords nodded. Honored Imperial Protector, His Majesty has already explained everything. 500,000 soldiers from the Eastern Deity Swords have already arrived here from the Imperial City. As long as the order is given, we 3 father and sons will aid the Imperial Protector in any way and head through the Space Gate to the Jessen Kingdom. Jianchen displayed a surprised look on his face. He hadn't thought that the 3 were father and sons. From their appearances, there was no differences between them. When he used his presence to measure their strength, he noticed that they had not bothered to hide their strengths. They were plain to see, and Jianchen realized that all 3 of them were Heaven Saint Masters. The eldest, Qin Wuming, was a 3rd cycle Heaven Saint Master while the other 2 were 1st cycle Heaven Saint Masters. Jianchen cupped his hands together. Then I will be bothering you 3 to follow me on a trip. If everyone is ready, we will make our preparations to leave now. Yes. Chapter 483. Arrival of the army. Jianchen and the 3 generals of the Eastern Deity Sword left the Qin Heaven Palace at once. The 3 generals parted ways with Jianchen so that he could bid farewell to Qin Ji at the Flowing Cloud Palace while the generals would rally the army. Arriving at the Flowing Cloud Palace, the guards outside gave a respectful salute to Jianchen without concealing the admiration they had for him and allowed him entry. Just as Jianchen walked past several guards, one of them immediately called out, "The honored Imperial Protector has arrived." This was meant for Qin Ji to hear. With Jianchen's superb identity, his status was different than what it was from before. To the guards, the status of being an Imperial Protector was more than enough to see Qin Ji. If Qin Ji did not come out to greet the Imperial Protector personally, then that would be a rude gesture. Sure enough, as soon as the guard's voice stopped, Qin Ji could be seen hurrying out from his palace room. Although he and Jianchen were very close, Jianchen's status was so high that Qin Ji didn't dare be rude to him. Jianchen, what winds are blowing today for you to come visit me? If you needed something, a message would be enough to suffice. Qin Ji laughed. Seeing that Jianchen had personally came to find him had caused him to feel proud and delighted. I came to say goodbye for now. Jianchen smiled faintly as he spoke. Leaving so soon? Why not stay for a while? Qin Ji was rather reluctant to see Jianchen leave so soon. Jianchen had an apologetic look on his face. I have matters to attend to at home, and so I must leave now. I am afraid that something may happen back home. Hearing this, Qin Ji had a silent look on his face as his eyebrows narrowed together in concern. Then, as if he had made up his mind, Qinji looked to Jianchen with bright eyes. Jianchen, allow me to come with you. What? Jianchen looked at him in surprise. You wish to come to the Jessen kingdom with me? Qinji smiled and joked. I do. Do you not wish for me to? You've come to my homelands, am I not able to come to your homelands to take a look? Jianchen smiled and put his hand onto Qinji's shoulder. I have no qualms with that. How could I not? You've welcomed me into your home, naturally, I have no doubts my family would be happy to receive you. Then all is well. I was worried whether or not your family would welcome me. Let's go then, off to your home. I have nothing to bring with, everything is already in my space ring. With that, Qinji left the palace with Jianchen. Jianchen and Qinji both walked from the palace and headed for the space gate. From far away, the both of them could see a squadron of silver-robed soldiers lined up right in front of the palace. Each one stood in a uniform position without a single soldier out of place. Their footsteps on the ground resonated with a rumbling sound, like a bolt of lightning crashing to the ground. Despite the monotonous sounds, the entire division leaked an elite aura and killing potential that soared into the sky. This was a testament to the fact that each and every single one of these soldiers had been tempered by the struggles of life and death. Each one of their hands were soaked in blood to rise up to the cream of the crop. These are the Eastern deity swords? They are well deserved of being called the division of the elites in the Qinhuang kingdom. Even the Jessen kingdom has only 3,000 people in its black armors division. At the sight of this, Jianchen couldn't help but nod his head in approval. The Eastern deity swords are one of the 5 elite divisions in our Qinhuang kingdom. In total, there is 2 million of them. Each soldier capable of entering the Eastern deity swords is selected very carefully from the best of the best. Then, they are thrown to the borders of the Cross Mountains as a test of discipline to slaughter their way through the numerous magical beasts. Thus, each soldier in the Eastern deity swords has encountered many battles of life and death. In the Tianyuan continent, only the elite divisions of the 3 great empires would be able to compare. Qinji explained with a prideful look. Truly a powerful army. If these 500,000 soldiers were to be in my homelands, then they would be able to eliminate any neighboring nation with ease. Jianchen sighed in admiration. Qinji laughed. Eliminating a single kingdom would be nothing. These soldiers would be capable of destroying several kingdoms with ease. Our Qinhuang kingdom provides over 200 human tier battle skills and 50 earth tier battle skills for the soldiers in any of the elite divisions to learn. Thus, any soldier in any of the 5 divisions are capable of at least 1 battle skill. Such a strength like this couldn't compare to any smaller nation. Hearing this, Jianchen was shocked in his heart. Battle skills in the Tianyuan continent were extremely precious. Even if someone had one, they would not share it. Even the Jessen kingdom hadn't provided any of the black armors with a battle skill for free. Each one of them had to have a sufficient amount of strength and meritorious service before they could gain access to one. But the Qinhuang kingdom didn't even have to think about it to allow any one of the soldiers to learn from 200 human tier battle skills and 50 earth tier battle skills without charge. This was not a simple case of being rich. It is no wonder the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great empires. I cannot even fathom how strong the Qinhuang kingdom is. Jianchen sighed as he re-evaluated the strength of the Qinhuang kingdom. Quickly, Jianchen and Qinji both arrived in front of the space gate where the king of the Qinhuang kingdom was waiting for him along with 5 other elders. Imperial Protector, this king was worried that 500,000 soldiers wouldn't be enough. So I consulted with several imperial advisors and 5 of them agreed to come with you to wipe out the enemy nation. Allow me to introduce you to these 5. This is Su Ri, Hao Yun, Reiber, Jati Liar and Jati Kaijing. As the king introduced them, each person moved toward Jianchen. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. After the king's introduction, the 5 elders bowed to Jianchen respectfully. You 5 imperial advisors need not to be so polite. I, Jianchen, truly appreciate your assistance. Jianchen smiled politely and accepted the assistance of the 5. If he had these Heaven Saint Masters return with him, then it would prevent the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom from asking others for assistance. Although there were very few nations that would stand against the Qinhuang kingdom, they would not want to protect another kingdom from them. By this point, Qin Wuming had already led the Eastern deity swords to the area where the space gate was. Without delay, Jian Chen handed the crystal Chao Kachin had given him along with a map of the Jesson kingdom to the imperial advisor in charge of the space gate there. The imperial advisor in charge of the space gate took the map from Jian Chen's hand and placed the crystal over the map. Then he placed 4 Class 5 monster cores to supply enough energy for the array to activate. Slowly, the array on the ground began to light up and form a chaotic space within the gates. After some time, the space within the gates finally began to form a clear picture. Under Jian Chen's watchful eye, he could see that this spot was the exact position where Chao Kachin had placed the other crystal. Jian Chen could even see the faraway city walls of Lore City. "Yes, this is the area, let's go," Jian Chen answered. Then crossing over through the space gate, he went from the Qinhuang kingdom to Lore City faster than the blink of an eye. After crossing the space gate, Jian Chen looked to the faraway Lore City only to see it as it originally was. A countless stream of people could be seen going in and out without worry or panic. At this sight, Jian Chen sighed in relief. It appeared that nothing had happened during the time he had left. "Jian Chen, is this your homeland?" Qin Ji walked through the space gate and followed behind Jian Chen with a curious glance at the city. "Correct, my family is in that city." Jian Chen nodded. Soon, the 3 generals of the Eastern deity swords came out from the space gate with the white-armored Eastern deity sword soldiers filing out after them. As the men walked past the space gate, each one of them looked around the place with a curious glance. They were all curious of what type of place the Imperial Protector came from. "Imperial Protector, where should our division set up a base?" Qin Wuming asked Jian Chen. Jian Chen looked around the area as he considered the question. "It's quite limited within the city, fitting 500,000 soldiers would be far too hard. Since this area is spacious enough, let us set up camp here." "Yes." Qin Wuming cupped his hands together before running to command the soldiers who had already crossed the space gate. Not too long after, hundreds of soldiers stood in the area, and under the command of General Qin Wuming, they spread out so that there would be enough room for the rest of the soldiers. Jian Chen stood not too far away from the space gate and watched the soldiers appear from the other side. "Qin Ji, how long do you think it'll take for all the soldiers to arrive here?" Qin Ji watched the space gate for a moment before swiftly making several calculations in his head. With this speed, it should take 2 hours for 30,000 soldiers to arrive. With 24 hours in a day, we should be able to have 360,000 soldiers. So that means a day and a half will be what it takes. Jian Chen nodded his head and stood there calmly, watching the Eastern deity sword soldiers tread out from the space gate in an unending stream. A grand feeling welled within Jian Chen. Within Lore City, one of the head guards was casually reading a book within his study when several soldiers came running in. Kneeling, they spoke, "A report for the officer. A large group of unknowns have appeared 10 kilometers away from the city. Each one of them is wearing armor, meaning they are an army of some sort. However, their numbers keep increasing, and they are already within the thousands." Hearing this, the captain's face was shocked. Immediately throwing down his book, he ran out of his study. The matter between the Jesson Kingdom and the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was no secret and had already made its way around the entire Jesson Kingdom. So when thousands of soldiers suddenly appeared, the captain's heart immediately grew unsteady. Chapter 484. To War, 1. The captain surveyed the scene from above the city walls only to see that, 10 kilometers away, a large group of people could be seen. Despite the distance, he could see that all of the soldiers were wearing silver-white armor. "Where did they come from?" the captain asked. "We don't know, it's like they appeared out of thin air. Even now, even more people are joining them." One of the other vice-captains spoke in terror. The captain hesitated from his spot on the walls for a brief moment as he watched even more soldiers join with the already large amount of soldiers. The perimeter they were in continued to expand without a misstep at all. There was an order to each and every one of them, so it could be seen that they were all extremely disciplined. By this point, plenty of people in Lore City had discovered this group of soldiers. It was not limited to only soldiers, but even the merchants and mercenaries who were entering and leaving the city had noticed their existence. Some of the more courageous mercenaries couldn't help but feel curious and rode on a mount toward the area. The captain had a grim expression on his face as he stared at the mercenaries moving closer to the soldiers. He wanted to use them in order to determine whether these soldiers were friends or foe. If they were enemies, then these mercenaries would not be able to survive. As an added bonus, he wouldn't need to expend any forces that could potentially die. Quickly, several hundred mercenaries got close to the eastern deity swords from the Qinhuang kingdom. When they drew closer, the soldiers immediately blocked their path so they wouldn't be able to get any closer or be able to see just what was happening inside. The chi and killing intent these soldiers were exuding was extremely potent and displayed their strengths on an incredible level. Their bloodthirsty aura alone was enough to show that they were a powerful army. The nature of the Eastern deity swords was intense, and their explosive auras was enough to cause the mercenaries to shrink back in defeat. "Who are you?" one of the more brave mercenaries asked, prompting several of the soldiers to glare at him icily. Turning pale, the mercenary took several involuntary steps away. With their eyes, he felt as if he had been staring at the eyes of a dangerous magical beast. With such pressure, he did not have the courage to continue talking to them. When the captain saw that the soldiers had not started to fight, he let out a sigh in relief. Knowing that they were not enemies, he called out to the people next to him, "Report to the city lord and the Changyang clan, tell them what has happened here." "Yes." The soldier immediately ran off. Afterward, the captain led a group of 500 soldiers away from Lore City to see the situation for himself. When the captain got within 50 meters of the concentration of soldiers, he dismounted from his magical beast mount and strode forward with his head held high. However, when he drew close to the soldiers, several icy glares concentrated on him and brought forth an indomitable amount of pressure. Blanching for a moment, the captain steeled his heart while hiding his shock. As an Earth Saint Master, he was somehow pressured by these soldiers. This was very surprising to him. "Sires, I am the head guard of Lore City, Tu Fu. Where might your group come from?" The captain cupped his hands together in respect, but the soldiers only looked at him coldly without giving a response. Tu Fu displayed an embarrassed look on his face. He had been intimidated by the awesome might these soldiers were exuding. In his heart, he didn't feel any displeasure. He soon turned his eyes away to look for anyone within the crowd, but he was only able to see a third of the entire forces. Even then, he wasn't able to find anyone of importance. Without the ability to fly, he wouldn't be able to differentiate anyone from the crowd. Plus, with the people constantly moving about, any newcomer wouldn't even be noticed as they expanded. Just who are these people and where are they coming from? Could it be there is some sort of secret passage? The captain inferred to himself. However, when he felt that no hostility could be felt from the soldiers, they most likely weren't enemies. Otherwise, these soldiers would have charged straight for the city and razed it at once. At that moment, the captain suddenly saw the soldiers start to make a 3-meter path for a few men to walk through the crowd of soldiers. At this point, the captain's face had straightened. He had to guess that these men were the leaders of these soldiers and immediately grew serious. The two youths walking in front looked to be around 20 years old with auras that were by no means ordinary. When the captain saw Jianqin, his heart skipped a beat and immediately went to salute him. Tu Fu pays his respect to the fourth master. Although very few men knew what Jianqin looked like, Tu Fu was one of the few that did. So when his eyes landed upon Jianqin, he immediately went to salute him. Jianqin arrived right in front of Tu Fu and spoke, "Officer Tu Fu, take your men and go back. You needn't bother yourself with the matters here." This officer will do as instructed. Tu Fu cupped his hands before giving an order to the people behind him. With Jianqin's status as an imperial protector of the Jessen kingdom, he had full authority to command the commanding officer of Lore City. "Let us head into the city." Jianqin spoke to the people behind him before bringing Qin Ji into the air and headed toward Lore City. Right behind him, the 5 imperial advisors and 3 generals immediately surrounded themselves with the elements of the world and flew up into the air after Jianqin. Tu Fu hadn't even gotten far away from the soldiers when he saw the sight, much to his shock. Both of his eyes grew wide as he cried out, "Dear heavens! They're all Heaven's Saint Masters." Seeing Jian Chen and the others fly into the sky, it took Tu Fu a long period of time to regain his wits. Letting out a long breath of air to quench the surprise in his heart, he muttered to himself in a daze, "The fourth master of the Changyang clan is amazing. I have no idea just how he was able to bring so many Heaven Saint Masters over." As Jian Chen disappeared into the sky, Tu Fu had a look of admiration on his face. Jian Chen and the group's flight was quick. Not too long later, they arrived in the sky above the Changyang clan where a large group of people could be seen staring slack-jawed as the group descended. As soon as they descended, 5 incredibly strong sources of qi could be felt shooting toward them. Chang Wuji, Chao Kachin, Dong Yijunbai, Tian Luo, and Qing Xiaofan came flying past with their presences radiating into the sky. The arrival of several Heaven Saint Masters had startled them, and they had thought that the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had come by once more. Thus, they radiated a strong amount of presence in hopes of intimidating the other party. However, when they saw the men in front of them was Jian Chen, they let loose a joyful expression and instantly cut down their spike in qi. "Imperial Protector!" Qing Xiaofan and the others cried out as Jian Chen arrived with their hands cupped together. Chang Wuji stood by the side with a surprised expression at the people by Jian Chen's side. His heart had been sent in a flux, but was quickly turning into a gratified smile. "I had no idea that in the few days that the fourth master was gone, he would bring back 8 Heaven Saint Masters." Chang Wuji thought to himself happily. With the fourth master having such capabilities, Chang Wuji could already see him leading the Changyang clan into a future with meteoric success. "What has happened in the 2 days I was gone? Has there been any news from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom?" Jian Chen asked calmly. "Everything has been the same. We aren't sure what is happening within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, but no individual has come over to start any trouble yet. All of the Heaven Saint Masters are now aware that His Majesty had nearly been kidnapped, and now the strongest 3 have gathered within the palace. Combined with the original individual there, the Imperial Palace has 4 Heaven Saint Masters there. Xiao Tian is there as well to make 5. So only Lore City was in need of strength, so I returned to safeguard the place." Qing Xiaofan spoke. "Good." Jian Chen nodded his head in satisfaction before turning to Chang Wuji. "Uncle Chang, this is my brother, the 3rd prince of the Qin Huang Kingdom, Qin Ji. These 5 are the imperial advisors of the Qin Huang Kingdom, and these 3 right here are the generals of the Qin Huang Kingdom's strongest division, the Eastern Deity Swords. The 9 of them have agreed to come from the Qin Huang Kingdom to help deal with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." Daring not to be negligent, Chang Wuji addressed each one of them with several words of greeting. Then, Chang Wuji began to invite every single one of them into a nearby inn with excitement. When Changyang Ba gained wind of the news, he knew that this was an undeniably tremendous event for the Changyang clan and the Jessen Kingdom. He couldn't afford to do nothing, so he immediately called out for the inn to prepare the most luxurious, grandest feast to receive the newcomers. Since these newcomers were the imperial advisors, generals, and prince of the Qin Huang Kingdom, their statuses made many of the elders in the Changyang clan feel weak in the knees. Thus, the amount of people qualified to join in on this banquet had not been many. Aside from Chang Wuji, only Jian Chen and his immediate family had been able to join. Since Princess Yu Yu was Jian Chen's future bride, she had been given a seat. Ming Dong and Dugufeng both had unique statuses as well and were given spots as well. The 10 imperial advisors, 3 generals, and the prince shared the same table as Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, Chang Wuji, and several others. Because the imperial advisors had been forewarned of the relationship between the imperial protector and Changyang Ba, the 5 imperial advisors and generals were extremely courteous to the father and mother of Jian Chen. At another table, Jian Chen, Ming Dong, Dugufeng, Yu, Qin Ji, and several others were chatting among each other. The majority of them knew each other from the gathering of mercenaries, so they were well acquainted with one another and happy to meet once more. Just as everyone was chatting to each other over some wine, both the city lord and the Changyang clan gained a report of the sudden appearance of an army just outside Lore City. The report was given to the elders of the Changyang clan first, but they already knew of the finer details and couldn't help but smile without a care in the world. However, the city lord was not as calm as the elders were. Throwing down the report, he brought several divisions of his army to rush on out. As the city lord stood on top of the walls of Lore City, the amount of soldiers 10 kilometers away had already swelled to 20,000. Several groups began to hoist their banners into the air, where the large character for Qin could be seen. Seeing the Qin character on the banners, the city lord's eyes flashed with recognition. An indescribable feeling overwhelmed his thoughts. Could they be an army from the Qin Huang kingdom? Chapter 485. To War, 2. Impossible, this can't be the army of the Qin Huang kingdom. The Qin Huang kingdom is too far away from the Jesson kingdom. Just how would they be able to appear right outside our Lore City so suddenly? The ruler of Lore City asked as he tried to understand this unrealistic scene in front of him. My lord. The captain Tu Fu arrived by the ruler's side. Tu Fu, just where did this group come from? Are they enemies or are they friends? Is there some sort of secret passageway I'm not aware of over in that location? The city lord's eyes stared at the scene in front of him as he spoke softly to Tu Fu. My lord, this general knows not where the group has come from, but I was able to confirm they are friends rather than foes due to the fact that the fourth master from the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian, came with them. Furthermore, at this point, Tu Fu's voice suddenly stopped as his face took on a look of shock. The city lord's eyes turned to look at Tu Fu and questioned, furthermore? Tu Fu let out a long breath of air before steeling himself. Furthermore, 9 Heaven Saint Masters came with the fourth master. From their faces, they are not from our Jesson kingdom. Qin Ji had been carried into the air by Jianchen, but Tu Fu hadn't been paying close attention, so he had mistaken Qin Ji as a Heaven Saint Master. What? 9 Heaven Saint Masters? The city lord was in shock and utter disbelief. 9 Heaven Saint Masters may not be much for the Qin Huang kingdom, but for them to send so many to such a faraway kingdom was to send an unbelievable amount of military might beyond what most would believe. Even in the golden age of the Jesson kingdom, they had only 11 Heaven Saint Masters to their name. I must go to the Changyang clan right away to see the situation for myself. Without delay, the lord ran down from the walls and mounted his horse to ride off toward the Changyang clan. When the lord arrived, he was received by a high-ranking elder of the Changyang clan. Changyang Qing, you and I have known each other for years. Would it be possible for you to tell me the identities of the newly arrived Heaven Saint Masters in your clan? The lord smiled mischievously at the elder. The elder gave a faint smile and replied, if the city lord knows that much, then telling you won't hurt. They are all from the Qin Huang kingdom. There are a total of 9 that came, one of them being the prince of the Qin Huang kingdom. There are 3 generals while the remaining 5 are imperial advisors. The city lord's face grew sluggish from such information. At this moment, his heart started to race at an incredible speed. The fact that so many Heaven Saint Masters were congregated together in Lore City astounded him to the point of utter disbelief. Each one of the Heaven Saint Masters had a majestic status. If they were not a prince, then they were a general or imperial advisor. If these people were placed within the Jesson kingdom, the amount of pressure they held could kill a person just by standing there. At this moment, with so many high-ranking people in Lore City, the city lord felt a sense of terror. Now that he had finished making inquiries, the city lord didn't choose to stay within the area and left. This time, with so many high-ranking officials of the Qin Huang kingdom, the city lord didn't feel that he held the rights to see them. Back within his mansion, the lord of Lore City immediately went to his study. Not long afterward, a single Class 2 lightning bird flew out from his study with a letter that shot toward the imperial palace of the Jesson kingdom. After the feast had ended, the 5 imperial advisors and 3 generals were led by Chang Wuji to their rooms while Qin Ji was led by Jianchen. The graceful Bai Yuntian walked up to Jianchen with a loving look on her face as she spoke. Xiang'e, your mother has some matter she needs to take care of. Receive the guest as well as you can without delay, understood? Bai Yuntian smiled. Happiness had long since returned to her. Jian Chen's return had brought so much joy to her heart that practically every single member of the Changyang clan could see that her mood had taken a complete turn. Gradually, she had reverted back to the proper fourth lady of the Changyang clan. "Mother, go and do what you need to do. Your son knows what to do." In front of his mother by Yun Tian, Jian Chen was like an obedient child. Seeing this for the first time, Qin Ji was slack-jawed at the sight. It was almost as if the Jian Chen in front of him was a completely different person. After Bai Yun Tian had left, Jian Chen brought Ming Dong, Qin Ji, and the others away from the inn, toward the reconstruction of the Changyang clan. The construction was moving at a nice pace with about 1,000 artisans working day and night to rebuild it. All sorts of high-grade materials were brought in an endless stream as well, transforming the ruins of the clan into something grand in several days. The rebuilt Changyang clan wasn't going to have any major changes, but the range of area it would cover would be expanded twice over while a road would go around it. Qin Ji looked all around the reconstructing Changyang clan before asking, "Jian Chen, is this your home?" Jian Chen nodded. "Yes, this is my home, but a few days ago, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom destroyed it. How hateful the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is, they cannot be forgiven for this. Jian Chen, how do you plan on dealing with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom?" Qin Ji spoke with an especially grim expression. "Wait until the Eastern deity swords fully ensemble. Then we will march to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." Jian Chen spoke without a second consideration. "Changyang Xiangtian, I hope you will notify my father of this matter." The princess suddenly spoke by Jian Chen's side. In her eyes, a small amount of bitterness could be seen. "Ha, Princess Yu, you needn't worry. I've already notified His Majesty. I am sure His Majesty will be coming over soon enough." Jian Chen smiled. The princess quirked her lips as she gave an unhappy look to Jian Chen. After a while of silence, she spoke up once more. "Changyang Xiangtian, let me go with you to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The princess knew that Jian Chen was the main pillar of the group. As long as he agreed, even her father wouldn't object. Hearing this, Jian Chen's eyebrows furrowed together to look at the petite face of the princess. With a grim voice, he spoke, "This time there will most definitely be a bloodbath. You have never experienced such a scene before, are you still willing?" The princess' eyes reflected with no fear as she stared back at Jian Chen. Resolutely, she said, "It is because I have never experienced it before that I wish to go. It doesn't matter if this is my first time, this is what I must do to steel my heart and hone myself." "Very well then." With that, Jian Chen could not find any reason to decline her. She had spoken correctly as well. When it came to the bloody battles of war, this was something that a woman would have to go through to refine herself. Outside of Lore City, two middle-aged men rode upon two Class 3 magical beast mounts at a furious pace toward the city walls. One of them was a large-built man with a robust constitution while the other was a rather frail-looking middle-aged man. The man with the burly muscles held a large boiled chicken and was slowly chewing on the greasy meat. Still with food in his mouth, he spoke, "The city in front of us must be Lore City. After so long, we finally arrived. How absolutely tiring. Yeah, we'll be in Lore City soon enough. Wipe off the oil on your mouth, this is a large city, so we have to be mindful of our appearances." The middle-aged man couldn't help but complain about the other man's current appearance. "This one knows already." The burly man began to tear off the rest of the chicken and stuffed it in his mouth. Then, throwing the remaining parts of it onto the ground, he took out a towel from his space belt to wipe off the oil. These two men were Senior In and Yunzheng, who had been traveling through the Jessen Kingdom all this time. Traveling and stopping at several points, it had taken them several days before they had finally arrived at Lore City. As the two drew close to Lore City, Senior In suddenly took notice of the Eastern deity swords not too far away. With a startled cry, he spoke, "Oi Yunzheng, look! There's a base nearby." Hearing this, Yunzheng looked to where Senior In was pointing, toward the group of people 5 kilometers away. There were about 56,000 men with plenty of camps and banners flying about. When Yunzheng's eyes landed upon the banner flying overhead, he grew startled as well. "What? They're an army from the Qinhuang Kingdom." "What? Qinhuang Kingdom?" Yun Zheng, are you sure you didn't look at it wrong? The Qinhuang kingdom is so far away, just how would their armies come running over here? Senior In spoke in disbelief. Correct, that's clearly the banner of the Qinhuang kingdom without any doubt. Yun Zheng spoke seriously. Forget it. Who cares what kingdom they're from? It has nothing to do with us. We might as well hurry into the city. The two men lined up to enter the city only to realize that the security to enter was extremely strict. No matter whom the person was, they were interrogated before finally being admitted into the city. Entering the city seems to be quite annoying. Senior In complained rather impatiently. The times in the Jesson Kingdom have been relatively unsafe. Especially with what happened in Lore City a few days back, their security now makes sense. Quickly, it was their turn to be interrogated. The soldiers blocked the path for the two while asking, "Who are you two, and what matters do you have in Lore City?" Chapter 486, To War, 3. I am Senior and this is Yun Zheng. We wish to enter the city to find someone. Senior And spoke. The names of the two men had caused the soldier's face to change abruptly. Turning around, the soldier called out, "I found them! Yun Zheng and Senior And hurry up and report to the city lord." At this, several soldiers immediately mounted their beasts to the lord's mansion. The reactions of the soldiers had caused both Senior In and Yun Zheng to be surprised. They were unclear of what was happening. When Yun Zheng saw the soldiers ride away, a fierce glint appeared in his eyes. With a tremendous burst of speed befitting that of an Earth Saint Master, he flew past the speeding mounts and slammed his fist into one, killing the beast. The rider on top was roughly kicked off before sliding to the ground. "Speak quickly, what is happening? We have offended no one since our arrival in the Jesson Kingdom, just who would go through all this effort to find us too?" Yun Zheng stood in front of the soldier with a terrifying amount of power leaking from his body. The disturbance in the area caused many nearby soldiers to leap into action. A large group of soldiers on the wall suddenly came running down to surround Yun Zheng while others brought out the crossbow cannons with bolts ready to fire at any moment. Senior In grew serious as well. Leaping into the air, he landed right next to Yun Zheng and faced off against the soldiers around them. "What's with all this? Who's making a racket?" Suddenly, a large cry could be heard from the top of the walls as the captain Tu Fu came walking down. His eyes had a chill to them as he walked toward the group with a neutral expression. The soldiers who had interrogated Yu Zheng and Senior In came running forward and hurriedly ran in between the two hostile sides. "There's been a mistake, they're one of ours." "One of ours," I said. One of the soldiers immediately ran up to Tu Fu and spoke. "Captain, these two are the Yun Zheng and Senior And we've been looking for." "Senior and Yun Zheng." Tu Fu jumped before his expression grew hard. "I want everyone to stand down. Do not be rude." Like a tidal wave, the soldiers facing against Yun Zheng and Senior And took a considerable step back. The originally tense atmosphere had dissolved away for a relaxed one to overtake it, but Yun Zheng and Senior And were both still skeptical and unsure of what in the world was happening. Tu Fu arrived right in front of the two and gave a gentle smile and bow. "So you two are Yun Zheng and Senior And you finally arrived. We've been looking for you for several days now." "Who are you? Why were you looking for us? The two of us don't recognize you." Senior And couldn't help but question him curiously. Tu Fu chuckled. "To be truthful, it isn't us that are looking for you, but the fourth master of the Changyang clan." Yun Zheng's eyes narrowed together. "Fourth master of the Changyang clan? The Changyang Xiangtian that has been the talk of rumors recently?" "Correct, it is that very Changyang Xiangtian. If you two are the one the fourth master has been looking for, you two will definitely recognize him." Tu Fu smiled faintly, but patiently as he explained to them. "What Changyang Xiangtian? I reckon you've the wrong people. This one doesn't know of a Changyang Xiangtian." Senior And huffed gloomily. "That is..." Tu Fu hesitated for a moment. Senior In and Yun Zheng displayed expressions that clearly indicated they didn't know Changyang Xiangtian. This made Tu Fu believe that they had found the wrong people. Yun Zheng thought for a moment before a flash of realization streaked through his eyes. "Senior In, do you think that this Changyang Xiangtian may be Jianchen?" Senior and paused momentarily before his eyes lit up in surprise. Ah, it has to be Jian Chen, most definitely. It was Jian Chen who told us to come to Lore City, and only he knows of our names. Tu Fu's smile had reappeared on his face at this. The fourth master is currently within the Changyang clan. Please allow this one to guide the way. Afterward, Tu Fu personally led Senior and Yun Zheng down the road to the Changyang clan. As soon as Yun Zheng and Senior arrived, Jian Chen, Ming Dong, and the others were coincidentally on site looking around and causing them to bump into one another. Hey, Jian Chen, it really is you. I didn't think that the Changyang Xiangtian from the rumors would actually be a kid like you. When the two sides met, Senior gave a wide grin and a laugh in obvious excitement. Yun Zheng was even calmer and stood by the side without saying a word, but in his heart was a surge of surprise. On their way here, the two of them had heard many stories in regards to the fourth master of the Changyang clan. When they heard that a 21-year-old had been able to become a Heaven Saint Master, Senior and Yun Zheng had turned their noses up, unconvinced that such a thing was possible. They had last met during the gathering of the mercenaries, so it was only natural that they would be happy to meet. Straight away, Jian Chen had the waiters to the inn prepare a large feast for the two men to enjoy and clean themselves. The two men had spent half a year traveling countless of kilometers to arrive at their destination. Such a feat moved even Jian Chen. Jian Chen, I didn't think that in the half a year since our last meeting, you would become a Heaven Saint Master. That's an unbelievable feat. It seems that you've benefited greatly from the Holy Lands. Senior spoke with a full mouth as he stuffed another piece of barbecue into it. He had been utterly shocked to hear Jian Chen was now a Heaven Saint Master. The Holy Lands is truly a great place to be. However, when I made my breakthrough, it was not due to the benefits of the Holy Land, but of another event. Jian Chen spoke vaguely without going into details. The people at the table were extraordinarily cheerful as they recounted the tales of their own personal history since their last meeting. Even the calm but silent Princess Yu Yu felt that she was one step closer to understanding Jian Chen after hearing more of his past achievements. Quickly, nightfall came when several bursts of qi came flying at a rapid speed toward the inn where the men from the Changyang clan were temporarily staying. Jian Chen and the other Heaven Saint Masters from the Qinhuang Kingdom quickly stepped out from the inn only to see that one of the new arrivals was the king. Alongside him was Shao Tian, the headmaster of Kargath Academy, Kafir, and the guardian of the Imperial Palace, Yi Ming. I didn't think that the king would arrive so soon. This was a little beyond my expectations. Jian Chen thought to himself. The king, Kafir, and Yi Ming all exchanged several words of greeting before Chang Wuji took them to their own personal rooms. However, the three men all gave one long look to Jian Chen. After the past few days, Jian Chen had amazed them more and more with each second. None of them had thought that in several days, Jian Chen would unexpectedly return with 8 Heaven Saint Masters and an entire division of soldiers. The arrangement of military might had caused the king's heart to flutter. Jian Chen's influence in the Qinhuang Kingdom was far beyond what he had initially imagined. From within their own grand rooms, the 10 imperial advisors and the 3 generals all came forward to greet the king of the Jessen Kingdom. Although each one of them held a rank that was beyond a lowly king, they were all giving Jian Chen face. Furthermore, they had all learned that the king of the Jessen Kingdom was also Jian Chen's future father-in-law. So they had placed a higher level of importance on him. Each one of them were also aware in the not-so-distant future, their newly appointed imperial protector would make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler and become a person of even higher worth. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master held no precedent in the Tianyuan continent. It would be impossible to foretell just what heights he would reach in the future. The king of the Jessen Kingdom naturally understood the reason why they were all treating him in such a polite manner. It was because of Jian Chen, so he felt quite gratified toward him and the wise decision he made those years ago. If not for him proposing the idea of marriage when Jian Chen was younger, the sight he was witnessing today would not exist. There would be no way that a lowly king, such as he, would be able to stand on equal footing with a majestic kingdom as the Qinhuang Kingdom. The king gave a rather modest but respectful greeting to the men of the Qinhuang Kingdom before turning to Jian Chen with a great big smile. My dear nephew, when might you begin suppressing the heavenly eagle kingdom? The entire eastern deity swords will be transported over by tomorrow. When they are gathered, we will set out straight away. Jianchen spoke. Very well, against the finest of the Qinhuang kingdom, the heavenly eagle kingdom will have no way to defend themselves. My dear nephew, this is truly no small matter for our Jessen kingdom. This king wishes to go along with you to the heavenly eagle kingdom. Will you allow me this request? The king had spoken in a negotiative tone, since Jianchen's status was far beyond what the king held. Even in terms of power, the king had no way of comparing to Jianchen. Jianchen couldn't refuse having the king request this of him in such a manner, and nodded his head without hesitation. Although the heavenly eagle kingdom wasn't weak, the safety of several people wouldn't be too hard to manage with so many strong individuals from the Qinhuang kingdom. After the talks were over, the group split up for the night. The king, Kafir, and Yi Ming followed Chang Wuji to their bedrooms. Chapter 487. To War. 4. On the second day, a large group of people were gathered together in an inn, deciding how they should deal with the heavenly eagle kingdom. The ones that were the most outspoken were Ming Dong, Jianchen, and the king. Qin Ji would sometimes interject with a word or two, and the 10 imperial advisors and 3 generals from the Qinhuang kingdom remained silent throughout the entire ordeal. Their mission was to provide the power to deal with the heavenly eagle kingdom, so they would leave the strategic thinking to Jianchen. At this moment, one of the soldiers from the Eastern deity sword came in and knelt on the ground. A report for the generals. All 500,000 soldiers of the Eastern deity swords have been fully assembled. The soldiers have assembled faster than I had anticipated by a large margin. Qin Ji smiled and laughed. Qin Wuming looked to Jianchen. Imperial Protector, what shall our next course of action be? Jianchen stood straight away. We leave now. Afterward, a large group on mounted magical beasts left Lore City. This time, the 3 generals, 10 imperial advisors, Qin Ji, Changyang Ba, Jianchen, Princess Yu, Ming Dong, Du Gufeng, and the newly arrived Yun Zheng and Senior were going to accompany the troops. Even the king of the Jessen kingdom was leading the army with 2 of the strongest individuals of the Jessen kingdom with him, the head of Kargath Academy, Kafir, and the guardian of the imperial palace, Yi Ming. As the group left Lore City, they could see a large group of people in the distance with an awe-inspiring amount of presence that shot forth into the sky. Even from far away, everyone could feel the distinct pressure radiating from them to the point where even Lore City could feel the effects. As a result, the mercenaries and merchants within the city couldn't help but cast their eyes about them in surprise. Constant chatter could be heard, but very few dared to wander near them. With Jianchen as the leader of the magical beast-mounted group, they arrived in front of the 500,000-strong army. Each soldier stood in neat and tidy order. Their eyes radiated a biting cold frost, and by their sides were 3-meter-long giant, azure wolves. The Qinhuang kingdom had a specialty for cultivating magical beasts for battle. The most elite division of soldiers, the soldiers of the Eastern deity swords, were given a magical beast who had followed behind them through the space gate. Faced with such a sight, Jianchen couldn't help but feel absolutely astonished. He hadn't thought that in the short time where 500,000 soldiers came through the space gate, they would have enough time to bring so many magical beasts. What was even more startling was the fact that the Qinhuang kingdom had been able to domesticate one of the most ruthless magical beasts into an obedient war beast. This could only lead to admiration for the Qinhuang kingdom's way of life. The general of the Eastern deity swords, Qin Wuming, arrived at the front of the troops. At attention, soldiers. Saddle up and move out. Not a single soldier spoke a single word. All 500,000 soldiers silently leaped onto the magical beast next to them without a word or wasted effort. Following Jianchen's orders, the entire division swiftly traveled away from the Jessen kingdom. A large group of people had already congregated by the gates of Lore City by this point. Each and every single one of them stared curiously at the silver-armored soldiers and began to talk to each other in curious wonder. Who are these people? With such an intense presence, my heart's already feeling quite terrified. This can't possibly be some sort of large-scale mercenary group activity, can it? How could that be? Don't tell me the Jesson Kingdom has such a massive mercenary group. Even the neighboring kingdoms don't have any mercenary groups with as many people as this. Take a look at this procession. There's several 100,000 people here. They must be the army then. Since when did the Jesson Kingdom have such a valiant division of soldiers? Even the light from their eyes is almost giving me a heart attack. It's like they're a dangerous magical beast. How terrifying these soldiers are. I don't believe the Jesson Kingdom has soldiers of such high caliber as these. Take a look at their banner. That's not the symbol of the Jesson Kingdom. Rather, it has the character Qin on it. I've heard that an imperial advisor from the Qin Huang Kingdom came by recently. Do you think that these soldiers are possibly from the Qin Huang Kingdom? Haven't you seen the magical beasts at their sides? Those are Class 2 and Class 3 magical beasts. I even saw several Class 4 magical beasts. Good heavens, those magical beasts alone are already a force to be reckoned with. Take a look at the people in front of the soldiers. That white-robed man, isn't he our king? With his majesty leading the troops, do you think that he is off to fight against the 4 kingdoms? A few days ago, several individuals from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom laid ruin to the imperial palace. I believe that His Majesty is leading the army to deal with them. The army of 500,000 had caused everyone nearby to stop where they stood due to their might, blockading the gates to Lore City. Over 1,000 people stood and watched the Eastern deity swords from far away and could only mutter their thoughts. On the walls, the leaders of the 3 other clans of Lore City gathered around. Each one of them could only stare in disbelief at the forces gathered in front of them. At this time, every single person knew the reason why the Jesson Kingdom was able to enlist the help of the Qin Huang Kingdom was all due to the merits of the 4th master of the Changyang clan. With the support of the Qin Huang Kingdom, the Jesson Kingdom would become one of the hegemons in the area. Each one of the soldiers began to increase their speed. They were all adept at riding their magical beasts at high speeds. As they accelerated, they began to travel along with the wind, leaving behind a large trail of yellow dust that covered the atmosphere. If it were not for the fact that the soldiers of the Eastern deity swords were finely trained, then the soldiers wouldn't have been able to charge on through the dust without fear of striking another, causing mayhem. This time, Jian Chen and the other 15 Heaven Saint Masters had foregone their ability to fly and instead rode on their mounts. With Jian Chen at the lead, he led them all toward the south with the 3 other generals in a triangular formation behind him. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was to the south of the Jesson Kingdom. Reaching it would require them to head past the southern stronghold toward the Andreas Kingdom and 2 other kingdoms before finally reaching the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. It was a far distance that would take a Heaven Saint Master 2 days of flight to get there. With a large army like this, it would require a dozen days at the very least. After 2 days of speedy travel, the army had finally reached the southern stronghold. The general in charge of that stronghold had long since been notified of their arrival, so he had been waiting 10 kilometers away from them. After the army rested at the stronghold for a brief moment, another group of 500,000 soldiers from the Jesson Kingdom had joined in. Combined with the Eastern deity swords, the army now had a cumulative force of 1 million. Separated by banner, one side represented the Qin Huang Kingdom while the other side held the Jesson Kingdom symbol. An action like this had already been discussed between the king of the Jesson Kingdom and Jian Chen. Such an action was the equivalent of declaring to the world that the Qin Huang Kingdom and the Jesson Kingdom had a close relationship with each other. Similarly, it would serve as an intimidation tactic to the surrounding several kingdoms. As the army of 1 million drew closer to the Andreas Kingdom, they came across multiple merchant and mercenary groups. Discussion and rumors started from all sides. At the same time, the information networks of every surrounding kingdom quickly transmitted news back to their respective kingdoms. The king of the Andreas Kingdom was the very first to know that the Jesson Kingdom had amassed a total of 1 million soldiers and were advancing toward his kingdom. When he heard of the banners of the Qin Huang Kingdom being flown with the army, the king had been scared witless and shook with fright. Straight away, he had called for a conference with all of his chancellors. Within the imperial palace of the Andreas Kingdom, several chancellors and civil and military officials could be seen gathered within with extremely serious expressions. I had no idea that the relationship between the Qinhuang Kingdom and the Joseon Kingdom was even closer than we initially thought. For them to send so many soldiers over to help the Joseon Kingdom, we were only able to learn of this after our emergency reports 2 days ago. Every single soldier has a strong magical beast aiding them, enforcing their military might. We don't even know how many Heaven Saint Masters there are. So, in light of this, what measures do you think we should carry out now, everyone? The king of the Andreas Kingdom spoke quietly with an expression of utmost worry. Your Highness, please don't concern yourself with this. We have long since surrendered to the Joseon Kingdom from the last war and provided a sufficient amount of compensation. There should be absolutely no more problems for the Joseon Kingdom to cause trouble with us for. From what our spies reported to us 2 days ago, the reason why the Joseon Kingdom has taken such an action is to fight the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Our Andreas Kingdom is coincidentally stuck in between the two kingdoms. So I am certain that the Joseon Kingdom will most definitely only pass by our Andreas Kingdom and head toward the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. One of the armored generals replied, Your Highness, this humble servant agrees with General Mu's thoughts. Several days ago, some individuals from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom caused trouble within the Joseon Kingdom and not only laid waste to the imperial palace, but they even tried to kidnap the king of the Joseon Kingdom. An action like this was no doubt a slap to the face of the Joseon Kingdom, so this humble servant believes that the Joseon Kingdom is on their way to deal with them and not with our Andreas Kingdom. We should be rest assured. Hearing the two men in front of him speak, the king of the Andreas Kingdom sat upon his throne and thought for a moment before nodding. Your words have logic in them. With the Joseon Kingdom and Qinhuang Kingdom looking as if they are siblings in relationship, we should not dare try to offend them in any way. If they wish to cross through our Andreas Kingdom to get to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, let us open our gates to them, allowing them quick passage through. Yes, Your Majesty. Not only should we open our doors for them, we should personally greet them. After all, the people that are coming now are from the Qinhuang Kingdom as well. Chapter 488, Invasion of the Army, 1. After a day and a half worth of traveling, the million-strong army from the Joseon Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom had finally arrived at the stronghold of the Andreas Kingdom. Visible from about 20 kilometers away, a large group of people could be seen gathered on top of the stronghold walls. Several banners with the symbol of the Andreas Kingdom could be seen floating in the wind overhead. Seeing the situation right in front of them, Ming Dong rode toward Jian Chen and pointed at the sight. Brother, do you think that the people of the Andreas Kingdom think we are here to fight them? Jian Chen had long since understood the circumstances of the sight in front of them with his presence, and shook his head with a smile. No, definitely not. They are in fact here to welcome us. Welcome us? Ming Dong was taken aback for a moment before covering up his emotions. That makes sense. It seems that the might of the soldiers of the Qinhuang Kingdom is extraordinary enough to frighten even the Andreas Kingdom's stronghold into welcoming us. But of course. The Qinhuang Kingdom is one of the 8 great powers. Their might is unquestionable. The Andreas Kingdom, on the other hand, isn't even equal to our Joseon Kingdom. Just how could they not fear the Qinhuang Kingdom? This king believes that one of the people receiving us will be the king of the Andreas Kingdom. The king of the Joseon Kingdom spoke with a great laugh and an expression that exuded pride. Cheerfully, the group made their way toward the Andreas Kingdom's stronghold in record speed. They were soon 100 meters within receiving distance of the Andreas Kingdom. The king of the Joseon Kingdom hadn't been wrong with his guess. Among the group that came forward to receive them, around 100 of them were the chancellors and armored generals of the king. At their head was an elderly man in his 60s with a crane hairstyle and dressed in a dragon robe. This man was the king of the Andreas Kingdom. Every single person looked exhausted, a clear indicator that they came scurrying from the imperial palace without stopping once to rest. The king of the Andreas Kingdom strode forward with a grim expression before cupping his hand together in salute. This one is the king of the Andreas Kingdom. I am here to personally receive the guests from the Qinhuang kingdom into my Andreas kingdom as honored guests." With that, the king of the Andreas kingdom looked over the entire group before looking straight at Jian Chen, who was positioned at the very front of the group. In his heart, the king thought, "This must be an extremely important person from the Qinhuang kingdom." Straight away, the king stared at Jian Chen with a look of utter reverence. The army of 1,000,000 had finally begun to slow down their pace. Not too long after, the distance between them and the Andreas kingdom became 20 meters apart. Not a single person made a sound as Jian Chen muttered to himself. Then he turned around to the king behind him. "Your Majesty, if you could make the negotiations with him." "Yes, yes, yes." The king immediately smiled with a joyous expression. Jian Chen's actions illustrated just how high of a status the king retained. The king's Class 3 Golden Lion mount slowly moved forward to meet with the king of the Andreas kingdom. Jian Chen's actions had confirmed the Andreas kingdom's king's own thoughts. This youth that was leading the entire group was definitely a very high and mighty person within the Qinhuang kingdom. The negotiations between the two kingdoms were completed quickly. Without any words of familiarity between the two kings, the king of the Jessen kingdom immediately told the other king that the army would cross through the borders of the Andreas kingdom in order to arrive at the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. The king of the Andreas kingdom had already guessed that would happen. He was pleased and immediately agreed with enthusiasm that made it seem as if this was what he had wanted since the very beginning. Both kings made no notion to continue speaking with one another and returned to their respective groups. Soon, the army began to cross into the territory of the Andreas kingdom. Seeing the army ride past him, the king of the Andreas kingdom couldn't help but reveal an anxious look. Hurriedly running toward Jian Chen, who was still close by, he cupped his hands respectfully. "Honorable, honorable master." The king knew that Jian Chen represented the Qinhuang kingdom and was undoubtedly higher in status than even the imperial advisors from the kingdom. With such a majestic person crossing his border, the king of the Andreas kingdom saw this to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could not be missed. He wished to worm his way into the good graces of Jian Chen so that the Andreas kingdom would curry favor with the Qinhuang kingdom as the Jessen kingdom had done. But his hopes were dashed when Jian Chen didn't even spare him a glance. His mount continued to pick up speed, and in a flash, the sounds of the hooves trotting overtook the king's words in volume before Jian Chen found himself riding behind the army. Seeing the army of the Jessen and Qinhuang kingdom mixed in with each other, the king of the Andreas kingdom let out a long sigh in relief. There was only rejoicement in his heart. It was a good thing that the war with the Jessen kingdom had come to a very quick conclusion. They quickly surrendered, compensated them for their actions, and neutralized any problems. If they had not, there would have been a possibility that this army, that was here today to deal with the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, could have been here to deal with the Andreas kingdom instead. Despite the fact that the Andreas kingdom had over 10 million soldiers, their military might was far below that of an army belonging to one of the 8 great powers. Even an army of 50 million soldiers would barely be enough. An army of ants could bite an elephant to death, but a single stomp from the elephant would kill many ants. If the ants wished to kill an elephant, who knows just how many ants would need to die? The price to be paid would be even higher for an especially fierce elephant. The gates of the stronghold had long since been opened. Jian Chen rode his mount to the forefront and led the army into the Andreas kingdom's territory with the ear-shattering sound of his mount stampeding ahead to the south where the Heavenly Eagle kingdom was located. At that current moment, within the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, the king was sitting in his garden along with an elder that wore a crane hairstyle. Suddenly, a soldier came running in at a panicked pace. Kneeling on the ground, he spoke, "A report for your majesty. One of our spies has just sent us some extremely confidential information." The king's eyes continued to stare at the chessboard in front of him without shifting his gaze. "Hand it over." The soldier handed over the letter in his hand to the king's hand without hesitation. Unfurling the letter, the king took out a single white parchment from within. Half a moment later, the king's face rapidly grew pale as the hands that were holding the letter began to tremble. With a dispirited mutter, he wondered aloud, How could this be? Taking note of the king's expression, the crane hairstyled elder hesitated for a moment before asking curiously, "Your Majesty, what has happened for you to lose spirit like this?" The king's face had gone through several shades of pale before he finally responded, "Something terrible has happened." The relationship between the Jessen and the Qinhuang kingdom was even closer than we had imagined. As we speak, the Qinhuang kingdom has already dispatched 500,000 soldiers with another 500,000 soldiers from the Jessen kingdom to march to our heavenly eagle kingdom. What? The seated elder cried out in shock before shaking his head violently in denial. That can't be. That just cannot be. The distance between the two kingdoms has to be at least 1,000,000 kilometers apart. It would take the army at least half a year in order to travel to the Jessen kingdom. Just how could they have gotten here that fast? Did they already have that many soldiers stationed here ahead of time? I would think that the report is true rather than not. Although I may exaggerate, the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great powers, the strongest one at that. Aside from the 3 great empires, we do not know if they have any special methods for moving their troops. No, this is no small matter. The life of the heavenly eagle kingdom is at stake here. I will go ask Georgien to investigate and see if the Qinhuang kingdom is truly joining in on this matter. The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom ignored the chessboard in front of him and immediately ran from the garden. Within the territory of the Andreas kingdom, the combined armies of the Jessen and Qinhuang kingdom had already traveled for 2 hours. They had already passed through the central area of the Andreas kingdom and weren't that far from the border now. The army would take a break in an expansive clearing to eat their rations. They occupied over 10 kilometers in circumference, and the Jessen kingdom had even sent 100 small squadrons to head into the nearest cities within 20 kilometers in order to purchase some food to replenish the energy of the Jessen kingdom's soldiers. Each soldier from the Eastern deity swords had a space belt that contained a large amount of drinking water and rations that could keep them going for half a year without worry. The Jessen kingdom wasn't as rich as the Qinhuang kingdom was, so they could not afford to fit everyone with a space belt. Thus, the rations were limited for the Jessen kingdom. After the army had rested for about 2 hours, they moved out once again. In a flash, they crossed the border of the Andreas kingdom and moved into a wasteland that didn't even have an inch of grass growing. At that moment, Jian Chen's eyes glinted as he looked up to the sky. There was only a blanket of white clouds in the sky where sunlight was incapable of shining through. Aside from this pale spot, there was nothing else. Each of the Heaven Saint Masters by Jian Chen had felt the same sensation as well. Turning their heads to the sky, their previously impassive faces now revealed terrifying glints in their eyes. Jian Chen revealed a cold smile as he spoke. "Men from the heavenly eagle kingdom. It appears that they have come to scout our strength. Xiao Tian, invite them over." "Yes." Xiao Tian replied before shooting into the sky like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had disappeared into the white patch of clouds. Boom! In the next moment, a muffled explosion could be heard from the sky as a wave of energy washed all over the world. All of the nearby clouds were scattered apart as a result, causing the blaze that had started in the sky to dye the ground beneath in red light. After the clouds had dispersed, the figures in the sky were noticeable to everyone. A single ray of blue and red the size of ants could be seen floating high in the sky. Again and again, they would clash against each other with a loud explosion. After several exchanges, the blue ray of light fell to the ground as the red glow of light pursued it relentlessly. Soon enough, the 2 rays of light grew even more distinct, revealing that they were humans all along. The person in blue stabilized himself halfway through the fall when suddenly he accelerated toward the army below him. In an instant, another 10 bursts of qi could be felt coming from the army. The 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters by Jian Chen's side began to display their own presence before suddenly soaring into the sky to defend the army beneath them. Although the Eastern deity swords were extremely strong, if a Heaven Saint Master were to attack them, even the elite division of soldiers would be reduced to tofu due to the differences in strength. Chapter 489. Invasion of the Army, 2. The presence of 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters defending the troops was extremely overwhelming. Their power melted together to form one indistinguishable force of power. The figure in blue that was coming at them came to a grinding halt. The fire element owner, Xiao Tian, was already in pursuit and immediately clashed with the other person. Each time the two crossed fists, a large wave of energy exploded outward with an astonishing amount of force. After a dozen more exchanges between the two, the blue-colored figure was finally injured by Xiao Tian. Blood poured from his mouth as his body descended to the ground before finally slamming into the ground 100 meters away from the army. The impact was so big that a crater was formed. Xiao Tian streaked across the sky like a red shooting star before finally coming to a stop 10 meters away from the impact zone. His eyes were sharp and cold as he stared emotionlessly down at the injured figure, but he did not move to attack. A coughing sound could be heard from the figure that Xiao Tian had downed. Struggling to get back up to his feet, the individual gave a frightened look to Xiao Tian. The dozen or so Heaven Saint Masters slowly descended back to the ground and onto their mounts once more. Jian Chen slowly urged his mount 10 meters ahead where the individual was. With a smile, Jian Chen spoke, "Sire Georgian, I did not think that we would see each other again so soon. It seems that we were destined to meet." Georgian gave a heavy look to Jian Chen with a permeated expression of fear. The memory of the event that had happened within the Jessan Kingdom's imperial palace was still fresh in his mind. His very own saint weapon had been damaged by this youth in front of him without the slightest amount of effort. Fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. Georgian spoke heavily with a difficult expression. Laughing, Jian Chen responded, "Correct, this one is he. I did not think that Sire Georgian would recognize me." Georgian's stare turned to Xiao Tian and the other Heaven Saint Masters who were now sitting on their mounts. "Changyang Xiangtian, I came here today to see the representative of the Qin Huang Kingdom. Please step aside." "Sire Georgian, do you really think you hold the qualifications to do that?" Jian Chen carried a faint smile on his face as he looked down on Georgian from his mount. Georgian's expression faltered for a moment before answering, "Of course I don't have the qualifications, but you do not have the final say on this matter either. Just what qualification do you have for stopping me?" Jian Chen smiled wide as if to ridicule Georgian. "If Sire Georgian is unaccepting of my words, perhaps we should fight once more. Will that be enough to show you who has the qualifications?" Georgian's face took on the color of green and white as he listened to Jian Chen's words. His chest began to rise and fall as his breath became ragged. This was the very first time he had someone from the younger generation look down on him. Such a fact made him extremely angry, but Georgian did not act upon his emotions. He had already seen Jian Chen's strength for himself back in the imperial palace of the Jessan Kingdom. He knew he was no match for Jian Chen, so if he were to recklessly charge now, it would be to only invite disaster upon himself. Georgian ignored Jian Chen and looked to the entourage behind him. Cupping his hands, he spoke, "This one is Georgian, the representative of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. I wish to speak with the representative of the Qin Huang Kingdom." Not a single person answered Georgian's words. From the 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters, the 3 generals, and even the prince, Qin Ji, not a single one spoke. This was because the representative Georgian was asking for was already in front of him. He just didn't know that himself yet. Bearing witness to such a ridiculous sight like this, the princess couldn't contain herself any longer. A "p" escaped from her lips before her eyes morphed into a crescent-like shape. She soon giggled in laughter toward the direction of Jian Chen. Jian Chen began to laugh as well. "Sire Georgian, you may as well return to your king. Let him prepare himself to see just how strong the finest soldiers of the Qin Huang Kingdom truly are." The finest soldiers of the Qin Huang Kingdom. Georgian's mind shook as he looked to the majestic army behind Jian Chen in disbelief. He hadn't thought that the Qin Huang Kingdom would dispatch so many people, let alone the finest division. Georgian stood there with a dark and indecisive expression for a moment, but in the end, he turned about and left with a heavy heart and silent mouth. "Let us be on our way as well." The army continued to move forward across the seemingly infinite desolate plains for an entire day. By noon of the second day, they had finally arrived at the second kingdom on their route, the Persian kingdom. The Persian kingdom had long since been informed of the news of the Qin kingdom by the Andreas kingdom. So the king had led a branch of nobles and chancellors to the stronghold in preparation to welcome the army in an even grander manner than the Andreas kingdom. The stronghold walls were decorated with their lanterns and banners, with thousands beating their drums loudly by the side to form a single wide path for the army to enter. The armies of the Joseon and Qin kingdom began to slow down once more. Jian Qin could only smile when he saw the enthusiastic welcoming of the Persian kingdom. With the king of the Joseon kingdom being in charge of the negotiations, this scene did not require him to make an appearance. This time, the king of the Joseon kingdom received the enthusiastic welcoming of the Persian kingdom with a warm expression, unlike the cold one he displayed with the king of the Andreas kingdom. The negotiations between the two kings were simple, and only several words of conversation were spoke before the king of the Persian kingdom stated his wish to be an ally to the Joseon kingdom with an honest expression. In spite of such a blunt request, the king of the Joseon kingdom managed to evade giving a direct answer. The Joseon kingdom had already managed to scale the giant tree that was the Qin kingdom, granting them a status that rose with the tide. Their rising era was only around the corner, so the ordinary kingdoms no longer held any weight in the eyes of the Joseon kingdom's king. After the negotiations were finished, the king of the Joseon kingdom followed the army once more and spearheaded their way through the Persian kingdom's lands toward the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. Within the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, a heavily injured Georgian had already returned and was recounting his story in full detail to the king. "Your Majesty, the information was not false. The army of the Qin kingdom is truly coming. Furthermore, it is the finest division they have that is coming, along with at least 10 Heaven Saint Masters. The situation is not looking well for us." Georgian spoke heavily with anxious eyes. "AI. The king of the Heavenly Eagle kingdom sighed. I blame our impulsiveness back then. The information from Prime Minister Che's network was incorrect. The Joseon and Qin kingdom have a connection with each other that is far closer than we could have possibly imagined. This connection has to be unique, otherwise, there would be no way the Qin kingdom would send their most elite division so far away to help the Joseon kingdom. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Should we surrender, or should we fight? If it comes to fighting, we lack the same amount of Heaven Saint Masters. We simply cannot go against them. Furthermore, the imperial advisors of the Qin kingdom are far too strong. Just the 6 of them were able to utterly defeat 10 Heaven Saint Masters from our own kingdom to the point of nearly losing their lives. Furthermore, that Changyang Xiangtian is involved in this group now. Despite his age, he possesses an absolutely mysterious power that is the bane of even Heaven Saint Masters. While we were still in the imperial palace of the Joseon kingdom, he managed to defeat me in less than 5 moves. Georgian spoke anxiously. The very thought of Changyang Xiangtian made his face reveal a cowed expression. The azure and violet sword spirits controlled a terrifying power that could make even a Heaven Saint Master feel dread in their minds. The king shook his head as he rubbed his temples painfully. Helplessly he said, "We cannot surrender either. The army of the Qin kingdom has come from far away. If we were to surrender in hopes that their army would retreat, they wouldn't have brought the army here in the first place. Furthermore, they wouldn't have bothered to have gone through the trouble of inviting several imperial advisors. I believe, this time, the Joseon kingdom wishes to truly wipe out our Heavenly Eagle kingdom. We cannot defend, and we cannot surrender either. What should we do?" Georgian sighed. "Senior Georgian, go and inform the strongest individuals of the kingdom. Tell them the circumstances, and have them gather within the strongholds. This king will definitely find a way to make the army of the Qin kingdom retreat." The king sat back on his dragon throne with an exhausted look as his eyes closed. Georgian hesitated for a moment before finally nodding his head. "Very well, I will go and report to them." After Georgian had left, the king's closed eyes slowly opened. Looking at the golden halls, he muttered to himself, "I had not thought that an error of judgment would cause this king to lose his country. The previous generations poured their lifeblood into laying the foundation of this country. I truly must pay my respects to them." The king closed his pained eyes once more. After some time he spoke, "Guard." "Your Majesty." A single guard came running in quickly. "Contact Senior Long Chen. Tell him that this king accepts their request as long as they help the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom get over this crisis." After he spoke, the king seemingly lost all of his energy and slumped over the throne in a paralyzed state almost. 7 days quickly went by. By now, the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom's army's plan to attack the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was known by many people. This information had spread waves throughout the entire region to the point where everyone commented hotly over the problem many times. There were many people from the surrounding kingdoms talking about the matter between the Jesson and Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. In this short amount of time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's atmosphere had grown extremely tense. Although the army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom had only 1 million people and was trifling in comparison to the tens of millions of soldiers the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had, everyone was well aware that the Qinhuang Kingdom's strength was far stronger than the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Even with just 500,000 soldiers, the Qinhuang Kingdom was far more than capable of delivering serious damage to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Even if the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom managed to destroy the army, the Qinhuang Kingdom would possibly send 1 million or even over 1 million soldiers next time. Against the army of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom did not even consider surrendering. Their armies were on the move constantly. 3 divisions of soldiers stationed at other strongholds were relocated to the one that the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom would appear at. After several days of preparation, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom managed to gather 6 million soldiers at the northern stronghold. Practically half the military might was placed there while at the same time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom stationed several strong individuals there. Within the northern stronghold of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, 10 experts and several armored generals stood steadfast. Their eyes observed the area in front of them as if they were waiting for something. Not long after, the ground began to shake as a trail of dust began to form over the horizon. Countless humanoid and beast figures began to appear at tremendous speeds. The army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom had finally arrived. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.